Welcome back to another episode of the Black Bear Podcast. It is Saturday. This is the Hard Way edition. It's crazy because we're debuting Three the Hard Way this week, and we only got two of us. But we are about to break down the Chicago Bears schedule release. I couldn't wait. Me and my guy Devin been chopping it up all week long. Just couldn't wait to get on air and talk about this schedule. We're gonna talk about the schedule, the prime time games on it, some of the interesting, intriguing components of this schedule, all of that and a lot more. Right after this.
You seem to focus on what they didn't have. I
No,
focused on what they. No, you said 4 was not enough.
It
So
was
you
not
focused
enough.
on what they did not have.
Okay, let's stop with the antics and let's talk about football now. Okay, Biggie's a
Caleb
starter.
Williams is a generational talent. I saw somebody said something about if you had the first overall pick, would you pass up on Michael Jordan?
I don't know. If you had the first overall pick, you passing up on Michael Jordan or what?
I mean, 2 teams did. I mean,
Hey, that's a good point. I wish Wes was on today. He Wes is a little under the weather, so prayers out to him. Hope he feel better within the next couple of days. We gonna hold down and talk about this damn schedule that was released. What was it? Wednesday, Thursday, something like that.
Wednesday.
Wednesday. And my thing with this is, it pissed me off. Like, don't get me wrong, the leaks, we were talking about it all day. The leaks started coming out at like 10 a.m., 9 a.m.
Yep.
And what pissed me off was, why would you wait till 7 p.m. for the official release? Like 7 p.m., like it's a kickoff for NBA tip-off or something, 7 p.m., really? That shit pissed me.
I mean, they had a whole presentation on NFL Network, and I went to tune into it, and it was like, I think after the first 10 minutes, I still hadn't seen the Bears come across, and I was like, okay, so I went on the Bears Facebook page and turned off the TV because they'd already announced their schedule themselves.
Right.
So I was trying to hope that maybe I was able to find the schedule and see them talk about it, but they didn't.
And so before we jump into the schedule, you just mentioned the Chicago Bears, their schedule release video. What did you think about that video? Was it like 4 minutes, 4.5 minutes?
I thought it was kind of funny.
I look. So last year they did. Was it like the Bear? I think they made a play off the Bear TV show. That cooking, not cooking show, but about a restaurant or whatever in Chicago. I don't know. I kind of
Oh yeah, I do kind of remember that last
remember
year.
they was like throwing
Honestly,
burritos
I
all
didn't-
over the place.
I didn't know that was a thing that like they created like a little like social media video thing or whatever for the release. And so I was super confused last year when I saw that pop up for like the schedule release. I was a little like, what's going on?
Okay, hang on a second, because we got some. Shout out to my boy Wes. Hey, feel better, man. We hoping to see you next week's show. You know, with a nice and clear voice. But he said, Thigh and somebody said, "Hey guys, Mark, I don't think you're using the correct microphone. Is my mic off? Does it sound weird?"
I mean, I'm hearing it come through a little weird on my headphones. I just thought it might be my headphones.
Okay.
Hold on one sec. Let me switch off the headphones and see if it still sounds kind of funny.
When you say funny, what it sound like?
It sounds a little like muffled, but I mean, I've been having issues with my headphones, so hold on one sec.
I got you. I think I know exactly what it is. He's right. He's exactly right.
How does that sound?
Hold on one sec. It sounded a lot better.
How about that? That sound better?
Yeah.
He said it sounded like you're using the mic on your headphones and not the mic with the light.
Oh,
on.
it sounds way better.
Yeah, it sounds way better. There we go. There we go. I need that radio sound, that jazz radio voice.
Yeah, it sounded a little like something was different, but I just thought it was my headphones, to be quite honest with you.
Appreciate you giving me that heads up because I ain't buy this mic for nothing. But what was we just talking about before I cut us off to fix my mic? I forgot what it was. If you don't remember, we could jump right into this schedule.
Oh, we were talking about the commercial that they did. I thought it was kind of funny.
Yeah.
And I mean, they look like they had fun. And I don't know if you ended up seeing the bloopers. There were some funny ass bloopers. They had to tell Cole Kmet his line like 6 times, and his line was like 3 words or some shit.
Yeah, I saw that. I don't know. I liked it in a way. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's because I just like seeing the Bears produce shit, like the whole 1920 football drive. I love watching those. So I don't know. I liked it. It was cool. DJ Moore was being DJ Moore, and Spice Adams, of course. You had to get Spice in there. That dude.
Did you see Roma Dunze when he was getting off the bus in the blooper? He's like, "Oh, I hit my head on the bus."
Oh yeah, he hit his head. Yeah, I seen that shit. I'm like, damn. I didn't know he was gonna say nothing. I'm like, damn, he just hit his head. But he was like, yeah, I just hit my head. Let's do that again. Let's do that shit again. Nah, I like
that. Was funny.
But
they tell DJ to close the door, and he's like, "Okay, how do you close the door?
How you close this door?" You know, it's crazy because I'm looking at that car. I'm like, damn. Well, like, I think what was it? Mercedes? I think it was Mercedes. I'm like, damn.
He could have
been. Do he even know how to drive? Is he even gonna drive it for real? I doubt he did. Probably wasn't even his car. But let's get into this schedule. The preseason games, I did not. I should have. I should have created a graphic for the preseason games, but preseason game number 1 is obviously the Hall of Fame game against Houston Texans.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the thing with that, and let me ask you this question real quick. Do you think in that, because we have 4 preseason games and everybody else have 3 because of the Hall of Fame game, you think Caleb gonna play any in that Hall of Fame game? Any, like, series or anything?
I would say, in my opinion, yes, because the Bears as a franchise have like they put a lot into their history. Like, they have a long and storied history. Largest number of players in the Hall of Fame of any team. I think it's only by like 1 or 2, but it's still, we have the most right now. And we have 2 players going into the Hall of Fame. And honestly, I think that he plays some, because they want to go out there and like put on a good show and kind of show some respect to the Hall of Fame. That would be my thought.
And I think if didn't like a big major network get that game.
Oh wait, we got three players going into the Hall of Fame. I forgot.
Hall of Fame. We got Devin Hester, McMichael, and who am I missing?
Julius Peppers.
Oh, JP.
I mean, technically, most of his contribution came from when he was on the Panthers, but the NFL doesn't do it the way like Major League Baseball does, where you get elected into the Hall of Fame under a certain team.
Right.
It's more of like your whole body of work. So technically, he is classified as having played for the Bears. Packers got one in too because of him as well.
He was and he produced. You know what I mean? He put that Bears uniform and put that Bears uniform on and was a dog for us. So I take it. I
don't know if he produced as well as he did when he was in Carolina, but he did pretty darn good while he was here.
Well, he might have been in Carolina. He might have played more seasons in Carolina.
Oh yeah, a lot more seasons.
So that's just gonna happen by default. But let's jump into the schedule then. We talked about it. Me, you, and Wes. We spoke about it. We were trying to predict who the Chicago Bears would play week 1. I think we all were kind of hoping for the Panthers. You know, it's easy.
I
the
mean,
whole easy
we were all
beginning.
leaning towards that, but we all thought it wasn't going to happen.
But so we all kind of hoped it for an easy start. We were hoping for the Panthers. Me personally, I felt like the NFL was gonna go with like a crazy storyline. My prediction was they were gonna try to match us up with the Detroit Lions week 1.
That
Prime
would've been
time
rough.
game. That shit would have been crazy. So I'm glad they didn't do it. Wes actually said the Panthers, I think, and then I forgot who you had predicted for week 1.
I was one of those people. I was thinking maybe like the Colts or somebody that like wouldn't necessarily be a like difficult game, but not like a complete easy walk-in game, because Anthony Richardson, if he comes back from injury, the kind of the same type of player.
Right. So I think the Titans at home is a favorable game for the Bears. And if you can't get the Panthers, I'll take the Titans. You know what I mean? If I can't get the Panthers week 1, I damn sure take the Titans week 1. I'm gonna pop the schedule up. You might have issues seeing that, but if not, I mean, if so, we're gonna read it anyway. Week 1, September 8th, noon game. The Chicago Bears will be hosting the Tennessee Titans. Will Levis is coming to town. DeAndre Hopkins. Who else am I missing? Calvin Ridley. They just signed.
They got the cornerback Ladarius Sneed, cornerback from the Chiefs.
Yep, from the Chiefs, Super Bowl champion. The Chiefs, but the Titans, they revamped this roster. I forgot.
But they lost Derrick Henry.
Henry, of course.
Their run game took a hit.
I think they lost Derrick Henry and replaced him with Pollard, right? Tony Pollard. I think it was Tony Pollard.
I couldn't tell you to be 100%.
I know Wes.
You can't really replace him. Like,
no, you're not replacing that production. And he went to here it is, because I remember Wes put the picture in the group chat. Yep, Tony Pollard. And they drafted JC Latham. I forgot. They took
yes, I knew there was a draft pick that was like that they'd had that was pretty high up there. Okay, so
that's and I'm not mad at that pick. That's a good pick. They drafted Peter Skoronski last year and moved him to guard, so they went and got their left tackle of the future. My bottom line with the Titans is that their roster contributed towards getting a great coach, Vrabel, fired. And I agree with that. Before we move on, I'm gonna address this. I agree with that because I like Mike Vrabel. I thought he had that Titans team were playing like dogs under Vrabel. They started to fall off. Derrick Henry started getting some foot injuries, and it definitely slowed him down a little bit. But he's definitely a force. My guy West said they decent but not scared. They need to build chemistry. LOL. So Titans, let's make our pick for this game. The Tennessee Titans, week 1. I'm giving that a W for me. And actually, Devin, if you can keep tally of your picks, because at the end we gonna talk about the records that we have the Bears getting. So I'm gonna take that as a dub. Week 1, that's a W for me. What you thinking, Devin?
I'm with you right there. I think that's probably a W. It to me, it seems like, I mean, the only way it's not is if things don't click. Like it, but like I feel like even with things not clicking perfectly, I think that even with that, like the pieces that we have around Caleb right now, we can still compete. Like, for example, the Bears last year would beat the Titans, I would say. Like the team they had last year, and they improved in a lot of areas of the team.
Yep.
So I would say that if they would be able to have beaten them last year, which they didn't play them, but I would say my opinion is that they would have beaten them if they played them last year.
I agree,
Or-
and for that simple fact, we got better. We got better in so many
Mhm.
different areas. I think we would have beat them last year, and I think we're gonna beat them again this year. So that's a win. That's 1-0. We starting 1-0. Let's go week 2. Traveling to the Houston Texans, CJ Stroud, Tank Dell, Stephon Diggs, Nico Collins. They also signed Danielle Hunter on that D line. I'm gonna let you go first on this one, Devin. What you got? Win, lose,
We have
or draw?
Wes tuning in. I want to say that he was talking about the Titans.
Mhm.
I think he says that it's a win based off run game and simple football and decent defense. I mean, he's right. Even without Caleb throwing for hundreds of yards, you still get a win just based on the other areas of our game. You know,
Right, and I keep saying this. I think average to below average quarterbacks struggle throwing against this Tampa 2 defense that we run out there. Disguising zone and cover 3, smooth moving to cover 2, all that. I think average quarterbacks struggle, and I think Will Levis is definitely gonna struggle against that defense. But go ahead, give your pick with the Houston Texans week 2 on the road. We are on the road.
Okay. I think this game is gonna probably end up being a loss, but I don't think it's gonna be nearly as I don't think we're gonna get blown out.
Mm-hmm.
Like last year when we went to Kansas City.
Oh my!
I don't feel like we're gonna play like that. Like, especially coming off of if we were to be coming off of a win with versus the Titans, and then going to Texas, I feel like coming off of a win, it would give Caleb the confidence to know what he's doing and stuff like that. Throwing in the fact that he'll start to trust the team around him. And honestly, going up against them, even only for like a quarter of their starters in the Hall of Fame game, we kind of would get an idea of the way that they play. I mean, they would get an idea of the way that we play too. But I mean, basically, to me, it's like, okay, this is kind of like your precursor for how the regular season game kind of might go.
Right. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because usually if you play a team in the preseason, you don't play them in the regular season. But we play Houston in preseason and regular season. We are not going to see CJ Stroud in that game. I can guarantee you that. CJ Stroud won't play in that Hall of Fame game. And Tank Dell and Stephon Diggs, those dudes are not going to play in that game. They might play some of their rookies they drafted, whoever they took this year. I don't even remember what pick they had, but
they didn't even pick until the second round. So
yeah. Oh yeah, that's right, because they moved up and took Will Anderson
up last year. So
the Cardinals had their pick, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So you giving this a loss for you?
Unfortunately, I have to be a little bit more realistic. Like my heart says win, but my head says it's probably going to be a loss. But this could be one of those games. Like they say that like there are those games that are toss-up games where if one team just goes out there and wants it more, they might be able to come away with a win. And this is one of those games for me. Like, this is the game where the Houston Texans might be able to underestimate the Bears into it, and the Bears could squeak out with a win.
You think we could sneak out with one? There's a chance. It's definitely a chance. For me, and I've been saying this, I think I got to see it again from CJ Stroud. Don't get me wrong. He had the best rookie season for a quarterback ever. But I got to see it again. And there's a few guys I got to see it again from. And Jordan Love and those boys in Green Bay are another team I got to see it again. I'm not sold on Jordan Love. I got to see it again. Do it again, and then we'll be talking. Because I wasn't sold on the Lions either. But they did it again. And now, I respect them. I respect Lil Bro and them. But as far as me in this game, I'm with you. I want to say this is a W so bad because I mean, this is one of the best teams in the league, and why not get a win against
beating them would kind of put us back there as being like we have become contenders. We've arrived at the conversation at least.
Right, and like you said, that would be huge. If we won that game, I guarantee you it's a lot of people. Our Super Bowl odds are probably going to go up just from week 2. Wes said, I'm 50-50 in a close game for a W just because we can or should keep them pinned with Legatron. Tory Taylor, the punt god. He also said, wouldn't be surprised if we lose either. The Bears Den podcast. Appreciate you tuning in to the podcast. I haven't seen you in the chat before. Appreciate you jumping in here, giving your 2 cents. He said Texans will probably be a L, and I'm right there with you. I think me and Devin are both right there with you. I'm gonna go with an L here. CJ Stroud was a dog. I do got to see it again, but his weapons around him rival ours. You know what I mean?
That's just it. Like they improved so much over the offseason like we did. It's kind of like when you look at some of these teams, it's like you can kind of gauge them on their performance last year.
Mm-hmm.
Like you look at like the Cowboys or something, and you're like, well, what did the Cowboys do to improve? I mean, yeah, there were some minor things maybe, but like the Texans added Danielle Hunter from the Vikings
Minnesota.
on their as one of their edge rushers. So they beefed up their defense. They added new wide receiver, Stephon Diggs. Now, the only thing that people are saying that I would kind of agree with maybe is with the big personality that Stephon Diggs has as a wide receiver, could it cause complications? Now, we may not get that in week 2. They may get that week 6 or 7.
Good point.
And unfortunately, I feel like it's too. I mean, if you're gonna cheer against a team and like hope that something kind of like something in their team kind of causes them to be disorganized and disruptive, you're gonna hope for it against your team. But I just don't see that anything disruptive happening in week 2.
Week 2 will be too early. They'll still be focused on getting those
kind of in like out. The honeymoon period, you know?
Yeah,
they like, oh, we got all these weapons, and they just excited to be a part of it.
So let me ask you this thing, because they do got Will Anderson over there. Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter on that line. Of course, their D-line is better than ours. But my question for you is, do you think their wide receiving room is better than ours? Would you give the edge to the Bears, or are you giving the edge to those boys in Houston?
Now, the only slight edge that I would give to Houston is the fact that like their 2 wide receivers have already been playing with CJ Stroud for a year. So they developed a chemistry. And while that's something that Caleb is working on for all 3 wide receivers, it's like that chemistry might give the slightest of edges. But I mean, see, the thing that I like to look at sometimes is it's not our wide receivers going up against their wide receivers. It's our wide receivers going up against their cornerbacks.
Yep.
And their wide receivers going, because like we can compare quarterbacks all day, but those 2 are never on the field at the same time.
Yep.
Like, so like people like to say, oh, I want to see this quarterback matchup. Well, really what you want to see is 2 teams with good quarterbacks playing each other. And I feel like that's why it's probably this is one of our primetime games, right?
Oh, I'm glad I forgot to mention that. This is a fucking Sunday night showdown. I forgot.
Yeah, so
Sunday night primetime.
That's why I think they probably made this primetime game, was the possibilities of 2 young, like high caliber quarterbacks. And like we all know that right now the NFL seems to be very offensive focused, right? And if you have 2 high flying quarterbacks with a stacked wide receiver room, whether one has an edge or not, it's going to produce some high points. And that's what you would want to show on primetime. You don't want those defensive stall out type of games on primetime. Those can get kind of boring for some of the casual fans.
More like our Minnesota game last year. I think it was Monday night. That goddamn game was horrible. Let me read this chat real quick. Benjamin Boss said, "I appreciate you jumping in the chat. This is another one I have not seen in our chat before." He said, honest opinion here. The way we seem to have built this roster, I feel like it might be a one-of-a-kind season. And I've been hearing that. I have been hearing that, Devin. We just watched the Nick Wright thing that Wes sent to the chat. It's been a lot of those type of vibes around the Bears.
Like a lot of people saying, like, as much as this is kind of we're still in rebuilding mode.
Mm-hmm.
The way that the schedule is kind of played out, I don't see them just sitting there and accepting we won't make it this year. I see them trying to go for it as much as they can. Like,
yep.
I mean, obviously you want them to go for it anyways. Like, we've had this discussion before. You don't sit there and build a team to not make the playoff. Like, you don't try to not make the playoffs unless you're tanking. And you don't go out there and get your number one quarterback and stuff like that if you're going to tank. There's really no point. So we're at the point where it's like, I feel like while we do still have some areas to improve,
mm-hmm.
I feel like we have an opportunity here to really, really try and make a run for it. And I don't want to see them like squander that opportunity that they've been given, because next year when we get those other pieces that we feel like we need, we may have a much harder schedule.
Yeah, and next year is a whole different beast. Like, this is our first year with these new weapons, new team. We haven't addressed the trenches as much. Imagine next year where you can literally focus on the trenches the most. I know we going a little sideways, so let's keep going with this schedule. So what we got them at 1-1.
Real quick, right, let's
go ahead.
So Wes says that he thinks that this will probably be Caleb's Superman game, and I'm there with you, Wes. Like that, this is the type of game where he could come out there and he could really flex his stuff. And if he's out there and it's going to draw, like right now, for some reason, the fan base is still a little divided. Like I don't know if you have noticed it, but there are still a lot of people who they're not hopping on the train, like hopping on the bus, like we've been on the bus over here.
Mm-hmm.
And they said that in their minds, they need to see him do well first. Going up against the Titans and having a all-star type game, that might be enough to bring a lot more people around. I mean, there are always going to be those haters no matter who you are, but I don't know.
Look, there's going to be those people. There's the wait and see. Like, I got to wait and see. I got to see first. Like, there's people out there.
And they comment on every single post about him. Wait till he plays a game for. It's like, well, no shit. It's the offseason. He hasn't played, but we're going to still keep posting.
I've heard from some people who say like they're not going to ever pick the Bears to win against the Packers until they see us beat them. You know what I mean? So there are going to be people out there like that. Look, my whole thing is you better celebrate it now, because if this shit goes downhill, you will have never got to feel good about this situation. You know what I mean? If this thing goes downhill and just for some odd reason does not work out, at least you got to feel good and celebrate when things were going right.
I'm excited right now.
Hell yeah.
It's good to feel excited about the season. Like,
right. So the Bears Den podcast said we should at least be in the playoff contention all year, if not make the playoffs. With this schedule, we should be in contention all year, literally. until we get to the second half of this schedule, which I can't wait to get into that because the second half of this schedule is when things heat up for us, and we all know that. Benjamin Ball said that was the basis that I based my previous comment on. The schedule is in our favor. Yep. At least for these first, the Chicago Bears had the what do we have? The third easiest schedule based on opponent win percentage.
I believe so. Yeah.
Third. So, and I had the graphic. I should have popped it up there just to reference it. But yeah, the schedule is definitely in our favor. He also said, Benjamin Ball said, mark my words, 5-18-24. We will sweep that Green Bay team. Look, I love it.
He's keeping receipts.
Hey, I love it, man. Because, like I just told you, there's people out there that's not going to pick us to beat the Packers until they see it. And rightfully so. I think we lost like 10 straight. I'm not knocking nobody for a take like that because, I mean, when you lost 10 straight to a team, you know, I mean, what more can you say? Let's move on. Go ahead.
It causes some trauma.
Yeah, exactly. Especially for like the OG Bears fans who've been
hating the Packers longer than we've been alive.
Yeah, exactly. Week 3, September 22nd on the road. So we had a home game week 1, then we go on the road for 2 straight weeks to Indy for week 3, a noon kickoff. Anthony Richardson, Michael Pittman Jr. I think he's a junior.
I think so.
Jonathan Taylor. You know, and they drafted our boy.
They drafted Latu, didn't they?
Drafted Latu. I'll start this one. I'll get my pick for this one. Actually, let me mark that last one. What do we pick that as a win, right? Yep.
No, the last one
that was a loss. That was a loss. Yeah, that was Houston. I'm gonna give this one a win. And honestly, I think this game is tougher than people think because honestly, if Anthony Richardson is playing like he was before he went down, he's gonna be tough. I'm not gonna say we're gonna struggle, but he's gonna be a tough player. But not him. That's not the reason this game is gonna be tough for us. If Jonathan Taylor is running that ball the way he has been his entire career, it is gonna be a long game. You know, Devin, I am not a fan of what we've done in the trenches so far, especially on that D line. I think those dudes, Gervon Dexter, hopefully he makes that jump, but it's rare that players make that jump, that sophomore leap like everybody wants so bad. Our D line sucks. It sucks. And I think the Colts have a pretty good offensive line to move mountains for that running back. And I think if Jonathan Taylor gets it going, we may even lose this game if Jonathan Taylor gets it going. That's and it's really only based on him because Michael Pittman, I'm not scared of Michael Pittman. I trust Jalen Johnson and all our dudes out there. But shit, Laiatu Latu, I think Braxton Jones might struggle with him. I think Darnell Wright might even have a few issues with him. But my main reason, Jonathan Taylor. I think Jonathan Taylor gives us fits this game. Actually, I gave us this. Man. I hate our D-line, Devin. I hate it. I hate the D-line.
See, the thing for me is like, yeah, we struggle on D-line, but last year we were still like one of the best against the run. Like defenses, one of the best against the run. And honestly, I don't think it's our D-line that gave us that. Not entirely. I think our D-line slows them down enough, but I think our linebackers are pretty solid with the run stopping. And like one more year of offseason and stuff to kind of get to know each other's tendencies and stuff like that. And I think Edwards and Edmonds come out and they put a stop. I mean, you know how much I like Edwards. He's TJ. He's a great player. And he just sees the field so well. Back in high school, he was our quarterback. And so I feel like him flipping to the other side of the field really helps with that. And last year we might have struggled a little bit more with Eddie Jackson at safety, but this year we have an upgrade.
Oh yeah.
And so and it's a veteran presence that, yes, Eddie Jackson was a veteran presence, but he didn't tackle for shit.
Eddie Jackson was
He was good before his payday came. That's the reason we paid him. But last year there were so many times where I just felt like he wasn't trying to tackle as much, or he just bounced right off of some guys. But I'd like to really, I'm going to be watching some of the preseason games to try and get a feel for some of these players that we're bringing in that weren't with us last year. Just based on his stats alone, Byard, that was his name, right? From
Kevin
Eagles.
Byard. Yes, sir.
Yeah. He had almost at least twice as many tackles, if not more than what Eddie Jackson did last year. So, I put this as a win because it's really, for me, it's really hard to judge Anthony Richardson, because I was seeing Colts fans that were talking about it somewhere on Facebook, and they were talking about it last year they would have been able to win the Super Bowl or something if Anthony Richardson hadn't gotten hurt. I'm like, you guys went 2-2 before he got hurt. It wasn't like you guys were 4-0 and then he got hurt.
Right.
You guys went 2-2, and then Gardner Minshew came in, and I'm not saying he's a great quarterback, but he did what he needed to do, and he succeeded in that. I wouldn't be out there saying that he was a terrible quarterback, but the play of the rest of the team was what propelled you to the cusp of the playoffs, because they had that last game of their season and they went up against the Texans, and whichever one of those two teams won was going into the playoffs. So I don't think that Anthony Richardson is that great of a player, and coming off of an injury with us only in week 3, maybe he might be still trying to get his rhythm back. And so maybe that plays to a benefit for us. Maybe he is a bit more tentative, and so he doesn't make some throws as quickly because he gets a little nervous because of Montez Sweat coming at him. It all depends on how we play our defense in for me, it's when you have an injury like that, you come back, and even if you're fully focused,
right,
we have guys that'll pin you down in your own 10-yard line. When you have that, you're sitting there looking at I got this whole field. And what was his injury last year? Wasn't it a ankle?
I think it was he had multiple. I know for sure he hurt his shoulder because he was running.
Okay.
He was running a lot. He was doing a lot of that, and he
I'm sorry, but we all know how that works out for quarterbacks. So, not saying that that it's a bad thing as a quarterback. Some of my favorite quarterbacks get out there and scramble.
Lamar is a dog.
I don't see it being feasible because they just keep making too many of the rules and stuff like that. Rule changes and stuff seem to be helping the receivers. So they seem to want a high flying type of league. And to me, it just seems like that's not the direction of the NFL anymore, is running quarterbacks.
Benjamin Boss seems to agree with you. He said he's right. Flus has to bring it. He's gonna have to bring it, and
he's gonna have to bring it every game.
and I got some Flus questions to get into, because I look. Let's just face it. His seat a little warm. So we giving this a W to the Bears. Week 3.
That's what I'm doing.
On the road to the Colts. W. Like I said, I think that Jonathan Taylor gonna give us some issue. He's gonna be an issue for us. Ultimately, I do think we pulled out this win. I do think we start the season 2 and 1. Moving on, week 4, September 29th, a noon kickoff versus the LA Rams. That California team comes to Chicago. It's gonna be September, late September, so it's not gonna be, the weather not gonna be biting
Well, it's
yet.
gonna be probably beautiful too.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
so it's not gonna be biting.
For some reason, like late September, we always get like sunny as hell days. It's like good for me. That's like good football weather. Like that. That's the enjoyable football weather. Like when you say good football weather in Chicago, usually you mean like a snowstorm. But like for me, good football weather is like in the fall. You don't necessarily need your winter jacket yet. You throw on a hoodie underneath your jersey and you good to go for the day. And I don't know. I'm thinking that for this game, I'm giving the Bears just a W over this one. I know that it may not be what everybody else is thinking, but I feel like we have the improvements that we could really just go out there, and if we've gelled enough by this point, by game 4, we could really start letting other teams have it at this point.
Fine. Week 4, catching our stride, just dropping dudes off. Look, you giving this a W for you, Devin? I mean, so who they got? Like Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua. That's their wide receiver core. Am I missing a guy on that wide receiver core?
I'm sure you're missing a guy, but it's.
I mean, that's worth mentioning.
Okay. I was gonna say, I mean, you're missing a guy because most teams have at least 3.
Yeah. So before I give my Wes said Rams will be a loss. Can't go against McVay, and it's going to be a who gets out coached type of game. I've heard this, and McVay is definitely a genius. I think it's gonna be hard to out coach McVay. I do think he's the better coach.
But so I mean, we do got Shane Waldron who coached under McVay.
That's true.
So got those. I mean, he could kind of have some insight on how to play that, and I guarantee you, he gonna be talking with Flus about, okay, this is the way that McVay likes to run his offense, and he's gonna be talking to him about like, this is who you got to look out for. And didn't what's his name? The new tight end that we just got.
Yes, sir.
He came from the Rams as well.
He was with the Rams, but most recently he was with the Chargers. Most recently,
I couldn't remember like where, because I remembered them keep saying that he came from, like he had worked with Waldron when Waldron was under McVay. So I couldn't remember if he came from McVay or not. So, I mean, he might also be able to. I mean, that's the cool thing about like didn't Shelton Coleman or whatever his name is, the center that we got.
Yep.
He came from. Yep. Now, like, you don't always necessarily go to players when you're kind of devising game plan. I don't think, because like it might be a situation of like the coaches kind of decide on it and then they go and tell the players. But when you got players that played with a coach that you're going up against, you might bring them into the room for the discussion.
My bad. I got distracted by somebody who don't know good podcast etiquette. So no, but you want to read that comment? You want to get that comment out there? The Bears.
Yeah, it says the Bears Den podcast. He said, "This is a tough one. Rams made the playoffs last year and McVay is a mad genius. I'm not going against that. I agree with you 100%. They made the playoffs. They faced the Lions in their first game.
Yep.
And honestly, I feel like the Bears also like going up against Matthew Stafford. I feel like the Bears would kind of be like, okay, now there aren't very many players that remember going up against him. but like the Bears fans remember going up against him for many years when he was in Detroit. So,
and then Benjamin Ball said that's gonna be one hell of a matchup, and I agree. This is my thing with the Bears versus Rams matchup, and it has nothing to do with McVay and Eberflus, none of the coaches. It's Matthew Stafford, and I keep talking about this defensive scheme that we run, the Tampa 2 defensive scheme. I think average to below average quarterbacks struggle big time, but you get Matthew Stafford is not average. He's a good quarterback. Good quarterbacks dice up zone. Good quarterback. I'm gonna say Pat Mahomes. Matthew Stafford ain't Pat Mahomes, but he got every bit of knowledge.
good quarterbacks.
He got every bit of the knowledge that Patrick Mahomes has, and Patrick Mahomes diced his defense up last year. So did Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert diced his defense up last year. Good quarterbacks will destroy. I'm not gonna say destroy. They will play good against this Tampa 2 zone defense. You can't play zone. It's hard to play zone against a good quarterback. Now, we don't have many of those on our schedule this year. So, and we're going to get into that. But this one, for me, you got it as a W, Devin.
Now, here's another thing that might lean in your favor.
What's
the
up?
Bears Den podcast reminded us that Donald retired. So they're not going to be getting after our quarterback as well as they did last year.
Who did they draft? Didn't the Rams take a D lineman in the draft? I know they made a move at D line. If anybody in the chat can remember, I think they took 2 guys on the D line. I don't know if it was a first rounder. I don't know if anybody in the chat can. Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, kid from Florida State. Who? Oh, is it? No way, Verse. They took Verse, or did they
remember
take his homie?
The D linemen didn't get taken. I mean, defensive players didn't get taken until much later. So yeah.
The Verse and Fisk, yeah. So, like I said, I thought they upgraded on that D line. Trust me, those dudes ain't there and down. We ain't saying
exactly. I mean, like they have Verse. Okay, we were already talking about like he's a great player, but he wouldn't be like day one impact player like day one necessarily. Now he might be able to like really help out, but like he's not going to be like an all-star right when he comes out.
Hopefully not. But and like I just said before, the comments kind of rolling in. Like I just said before, my basis on this game has nothing to do with the D line, the coaching staff. It's all about that quarterback they got over there, Matthew Stafford. Which version of Matthew Stafford will we see? And this is a what week? What are we on, week 4? Man, chat what y'all thinking. Do we win this game? Do we beat them, the Rams at home? I'm gonna lean towards yes. It's gonna be tough. It ain't gonna be easy, but I'm gonna lean towards yes. I'm gonna put that in the win column.
It looks like Wes disagrees with what I just said. I'm guessing that was the part about First being impact player to start. So
and that's because Will Anderson was pretty good. Like he wasn't amazing, but he was definitely pretty good. He did everything he needed to do as a rookie. So who knows? That Jared Verse, Laiatu Latu, like we just spoke about with the Colts, these dudes might come in and make a nice impact as rookies. West thinks is an L. Benjamin Ball say W. Diane Smythe, I think McVay is on his way to being one of the best ever coaches. Shit, I say Bears. I say Bears lost because it's early in the season. I don't know about that. McVay. I'm not going that far.
Like
McVay,
I will say that like a lot of times nowadays, it didn't used to be like this. I don't think,
right.
At least not to my knowledge. Like back in the day, it was like they would always talk about a good coach, but nowadays it's always like, oh, this person's from the McVay tree, or oh, this person's from the Shanahan tree. So they always talking about like them, like they're like it's lineage or something like that now. Like if this person coached you, then you're
Right.
kind of running the same type of scheme and stuff
Right.
like that. Like we got somebody from the McVay tree in our offensive coordinator, and it's like, okay, this is kind of interesting to me, because now it's like you'll be like 5, 10, 20 years down the road, and people will be like, oh, this person's from the McVay tree, and it's like all the way back to McVay is like they trained under Waldron, and Waldron trained under McVay.
And look, there's some merit to that McVay tree or coaching
yeah.
tree shit. But look, LeBron's son ain't LeBron.
That's true, too.
He ain't LeBron. And this
Michael
blood,
Jordan's
they got the
son
same
ain't Michael
blood.
Jordan.
Michael Jordan's son ain't Michael Jordan, and they got the same blood. So that tree shit, kids are disappointments all the goddamn time.
Well, let's hope not, because we got one of McVay's kids.
Yeah, hell yeah, we do. We definitely do. So
but
it
then
was
we
mixed.
also wait.
Go ahead.
You also get the whole wow, I just blanked on his name. Dude from Ohio State.
Coach
Marvin Harrison Jr.
Oh.
You also get that side of things where
his dad,
sometimes kids ain't disappointments. Sometimes they have the potential to even be better than their dad.
Yes, sir. That's a fact. That is a fact.
So let's just hope that Shane Waldron is the Marvin Harrison Jr. of offensive coordinators.
I missed this one. Kobe Turner is a very good D lineman for the Rams too. I missed that one. So we going. It was kind of mixed. We got a Benjamin with a W in there. West said an L. The Bears Den podcast had an L on there. Man, what you gave him a W or L, West? Not West, but Devin.
I gave them a W because I'm just being a little hopeful at this point that maybe by this point in the season they've started to gel. Like last year, we kind of had some trouble shaking off the rust in the first like 3 seasons, or not 3 games.
3 games,
and
yep.
I feel like we started to kind of shake off the rust by like game 4. Now we didn't do it completely. I think game 4 was against the Broncos last year.
Yeah.
Is that right?
4 or 5, one of those 2 games.
Because like I know that like right around there is when we started to really kind of like, okay, we're doing well, we're just not finishing. So maybe like I mean that game we played very well right until the end. Mm-hmm. And then we went out against the Commanders the following game and we just crushed them.
Kept it going the whole way.
Yeah. And so who knows? Maybe that's something that they get going a little earlier this year. I don't know. Maybe that's what I'm hopeful of. And I could be just being naive here.
Okay. We got a comment in the chat I want to address real quick. Chef West said y'all giving Texas a pass, but not the Rams, who have been way better in the recent years. Look, recent years don't matter because the Texans ain't the same team that they were even 3 years ago. You see who the Texans have on that team? All we can do is base it off on what we see on paper at this point. The Rams ain't got nobody scary outside of Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, and Cooper Kupp had a pretty mid-season last year. I'm definitely more worried about the Texans than the Rams. What you think about that, Devin?
I'm there too. Like, I mean, I do think that Puka Nacua was phenomenal last year. He is definitely going to be somebody that I would say stick Jalen Johnson on, and then Tyreek Stevenson maybe go on Cooper Kupp. But I don't know. To me, like Texans are scary for their potential, whereas the Rams are more scary based on what they have shown us before versus with, I mean, for me, that's what it boils down to is the Rams are scary based on what they've kind of had over the last like 4 or 5 years.
And that's my thing with the Rams. I mean, outside of their Super Bowl win, they haven't really been like after their I think they missed the playoffs the year after their Super Bowl appearance. You know,
But I mean, a lot of the players that are on that team were a part of that teams, right? Like there's still a good number of players left from that Super Bowl team.
they lost Von Miller, they lost Leonard Floyd. Cooper Kupp is probably gonna get back to his form. I'm not even going,
Yeah, I mean,
do that
we
with
can't
Cooper
base
Kupp.
that off of one kind of
Right, he
lesser
was hurt.
production. But
Yeah, he was hurt. But then the Puka Nacua, fourth round, fifth round pick emerged. It's not the same team to me. Like I said when I made this pick, it's all about the quarterback Matthew Stafford because to me, and a lot of people don't like Matthew Stafford, but to me, he is an elite quarterback. He's really good. I think he's better than Jared Goff. That's what it comes down to me. So we got this as win, right? We both got this as a win.
I do. I didn't know if you were leaning towards loss or anything like that, but
No, I think
honestly,
if
if it's a win, it's just barely scraping by as a win.
yes,
Like
sir.
we're not like blowing this team out or nothing like that. We are fighting tooth and nail and just barely coming away. Maybe like last second field goal or something to pull ahead. Like that type of a win is what I would expect if we come away with the win.
Let's move on to week 5. Week 5, November 6th, noon on the road, right? No, that's at home.
That's at home.
At home against the Carolina Panthers, who we kind of wanted to see week 1. W. I'm just saying.
I mean,
W.
did you even have to ask at this point? Like, I mean, there's a reason that you, me, and Wes would have been very happy against the Panthers week 1. And it's because we wanted to help ease Caleb into the NFL. Like the Panthers are still an NFL team, but they don't necessarily play at the speed and pace of some of the other top tier NFL teams. So
they just need talent. They need talent, and they don't have.
I mean, I'm not even gonna go out here and say that Bryce Young is a bad quarterback.
No, not.
I mean, I personally think that if they chose CJ Stroud, they would have had a better record than they had, maybe. But I wouldn't say that he would have turned their entire team around. Like the Texans have a good coach, like a relatively younger head coach, but as far as like experience wise, but he seems to really know what he's doing there. And honestly, the Panthers seems to have an issue with like their whole management.
Yeah, Bryce Young needed help. We robbed him. We are the reasons for that team being so bare when it comes to talent.
You're right.
So shit. I'm with you. Bryce Young is definitely a better quarterback than he showed last year. They almost beat a few teams last year. They almost beat Green Bay.
They did beat the Texans.
And they did. They did beat the Texans.
And it shocked the world when that happened because you're like, here are these one quarterback 1 and 2, and then one wins when everybody thought that they were going to lose.
Exactly. So give them some help, give them some weapons, give them some good coaching. A lot of stuff.
Wes says give him some milk.
and give him some fucking milk. So W, we didn't even got to spend too much time on it, right? We
that's how I am. I mean, there's definitely, I mean, they're an NFL team, so you like we got Benjamin Boss over here saying never underestimate any opponent, and I agree with that completely.
Oh,
they are an NFL team.
Half.
Huh?
No, you said you agree with it, and I'm just like, yeah, not the second half of this comment. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, I agree with the concept of never underestimating any opponent. Like,
facts.
To me, the Bears shouldn't ever be underestimating anybody this year.
Exactly.
Like, they should be the ones that are underestimated. They are the ones that you have to possibly squeak by with the win that people weren't expecting. But at this point, you need to go out there and play every single game like you are playing an elite team, because these are professional players. These players, this is what they get paid for. And so you got to respect that they're here for a reason. Like they're making the money for a reason.
Benjamin, I agree, like Devin said with the first half. But when you say if we beat the Texans, then we lose to the Panthers, I can't be on board. I don't think ain't no way in hell we lose.
I think he might be just saying that, like, if we underestimate them, we could go out there and we could beat the Texans. But like, if we underestimate the Panthers and then lose to the Panthers, it would not be a good look.
It could happen. It could happen. That shit ain't happening. That ain't happening. We just have too much talent. Montez Sweat gonna manhandle the dudes on their O line, and that's about it, because we have nobody else on that D line. But it ain't gonna happen. We gonna
maybe Austin Booker can get out there and get
Austin Booker. Remember this: Austin Booker gonna have 3 sacks that game. He said that's the football curse. Benjamin Boss said that. Nicholas Robinson, Bears about to put the league on notice. The Bears Den podcast. Tepper is already hated here in Charlotte. Oh, you out there in Charlotte? Shout out to y'all out there in Charlotte. Then
he's not very well liked in Jacksonville, if I remember correctly, either.
Yeah, he
was it in Jacksonville, the fan that he threw the beer on or whatever?
That dude been doing a lot of crazy shit, and it's wild what you can get away with. But that's the Panthers.
What you can get away with when you got money, like that's it.
Yep. Let's move on from the Panthers and let's head overseas to London. London, Jacksonville Jaguars. What is this week? What is this? 6?
Week 6, yeah.
Week 6 over in London, across the pond. We already know Jacksonville Jaguars is that's like their second home. They play over there more than any other team that we all know.
They aren't playing in the stadium that the Jacksonville Jaguars normally play in.
The stadium they made their second home.
What's the name of that stadium? They're playing in Wembley. They're playing in Tottenham.
Tottenham Hotspur.
Yeah,
I think that's how you say it. Tottenham.
I'll get the appropriate pronunciation later. I have a friend that lives out in England, and she says that's her dad's favorite football stadium. And so I'm like, okay, I'll get the proper pronunciation later on, I'm sure, before we get that game. But
Jacksonville in week 6, what you thinking? What's your analysis on this game, and what's your outcome?
So my thing is, so I'm kind of looking up Jacksonville's schedule just to quickly check something, because I know they have back-to-back games in England, but the game against the Bears is first. And then they go across to Wembley Stadium the next week to play the Patriots. And I was looking it up because one of the things that a lot of players have said when they go overseas is I think that I remember watching a game last year, and I think it was the Ravens had gone out there, and they said that the previous year when they had gone out there, they practiced at home and then flew out and played. And this year they said they flew out and then practiced there and played, and it made a bigger difference. So I was looking up just to make sure, because if the Jaguars were there the week before and played the home game the week before at Wembley and then played the Bears, I would give the edge to Jacksonville at that point, because they are basically they're fully integrated into the time change and everything. They are 6 hours ahead of us here and 5 hours ahead of Jacksonville. So it's a big change for a lot of people, and going out of the country and getting all that situated. I mean, it throws players for loops and stuff like that. So I know that I saw a clip earlier of Tremaine Edmonds. He was in Tottenham and he was touring the stadium. And so he seemed to be out there kind of getting the lay of the land. I don't know if he was just like enjoying a vacation and he's like, hey, I'm going to be playing there next year, so might as well check it out, incorporate that into his vacation. But having somebody that kind of is like, okay, I kind of went out there and got the lay of the land. Maybe it'll benefit some of the players. Maybe it won't. Maybe it won't matter at all. But I'm going to go ahead and put this as a win. Like, I know Jacksonville's a tough team, but like they have a pretty good quarterback in my opinion. I mean, some people would disagree, but I feel like he's a pretty solid quarterback back there. He just hasn't necessarily had enough around him to fully take any like big steps. And like last year, they were really trending very far like into the season. They were looking like they were going to win their division, make it to the playoffs, maybe have a decent little run in the playoffs. And then they got hurt. They had a few losses. Things didn't go right, and they ended up dropping pretty far. But the one thing is the Bears, for some odd reason, I can't tell you why, but the Bears have a huge fan base over in London. Like it's one of the top 3 favorite teams over in England, if I remember correctly. I looked it up last year at some point because I was curious about when you would watch some of these England games and there's just so many people wearing different jerseys throughout the stadium. And you're like, well, then it got me curious as to what teams are more like favored over there. So Jacksonville is definitely high enough up there too, because they play there a lot. But I feel like the Bears it might feel like a home game because I know a number of Bears fans are even planning on flying over there. And ones from other areas in Europe are planning on flying there because it's the closest game to them.
It'll definitely feel like a home game. The Bears, it's listed as a home game, and it's gonna feel like one because the Bears is just, first of all, we're a huge market. We're a huge market over here in the United States. So when you go to a country where football isn't even, a huge, American football isn't a huge thing for the fans, they're going to cherry pick some of the better teams, the more popular teams from that sports origin, which is the Chicago Bears. I know the Green Bay Packers are really popular, Patriots, and I mean who else is another? The Cowboys, teams like that.
I mean, Cardinals are the oldest team tied with the Bears, so I don't really know if the Cardinals have as huge of a fan base over there because I don't know if Arizona's as big of a market for England.
So what you think about that comment Benjamin Boss put down there? Our QB rivals their QB. Caleb Williams, you think he rival Trevor Lawrence?
I mean, if Caleb Williams is as good as we're expecting him to be, he rivals most of the quarterbacks that we've talked about today. But, I mean, this is his rookie year. There's going to be some mistakes. There's going to be a bit of a learning curve. But we all know that like rookies can have breakout seasons, and we all hope that this rookie does. So, I mean, I think it's possible that he rivals the Jaguars quarterback. Name is escaping me right now. It's on the tip of my tongue.
Trevor Lawrence.
Yes, that's what it is.
Trevor Lawrence.
Dude looks like a country music star to me. The way his hair is, like that's the vibe I get whenever I see him.
So we going to London and we getting that dub. That's what it sounds like. Week 6. Week 7. So going into the bye week, Week 7 is our bye week. Right. I think I'm right. I think that's
Mhm.
correct. 5-1. 5-1. That sound right?
Based on what we've kind of discussed so far, I don't think you and I have really had any that we disagreed on
That
as
we
far as
split up
like,
on.
yeah. So I mean, yeah, I feel like going into that bye week, going into the bye week as 5-1, I would say that's a good thing.
Whoo-wee. Because y'all wrong. Listen, if I'm wrong about any game on this schedule, it's going to be the Rams game. And if we don't, if we look, it's this simple. If we lose to the Titans, if we lose to the Panthers, if we lose to the Jags, any of those 3 games, there's a problem. You have to win the games you're supposed to win.
Yeah.
It's that simple. You got to win the games you're supposed to win, or else that's how you find yourself missing the playoffs. We lost a lot of games we were supposed to win last year, and we won 7 games. So that's that. Look, and those are the only games I think that may give us issues. 5-1. Wes, put what you got us at right now. Wes, put it in the chat.
I think Wes would have us at 5-1.
Oh, so you had 5-1 too.
I thought he had us losing to the Rams and the Texans.
You know, Wes be switching up, man. He be switching up every time, every chance he get, he be switching up. Nah, I'm just playing. Moving into the bye week. The Bears, if I remember correctly, I think Eberflus is 1-1 coming off a bye week. He's 1-1, I think. Last year, who we play off a bye last year? I know year 1 we played the Eagles off a bye and we lost 20-25. I remember that game because I was bragging about it because we played the Eagles tough. They went to the Super Bowl that year. But last year off the bye, I think we played.
We had our bye week late last year. It was like week 14 or something like that. Like it was pretty late last year, if I remember correctly.
Damn, I should remember this.
Was it? It wasn't the
Panthers,
Panthers,
was a win.
was it?
It was a win. I know that for sure. It might have been. I know it was a win though. But yeah, it'll come to me. I'm not gonna look it up right now. We're gonna keep it going. Going into the bye week, so he's 1-1 off the bye, coming off a bye week. This is his 3rd bye week with the Bears. Who we got?
My only concern is the bye week with the bye week being after London, they probably will spend a little bit more time in London, kind of, because like it seems like that they do that a lot where they give teams a bye week before they, like, after they play an international game, before they come home, kind of give them some time to travel, some time to enjoy the country that they're in. And so my only concern would be that, like, if we ended up like maybe not kind of preparing as much because we were spending too much time in sightseeing in London, I don't think they're going to do that, because to me that just screams immature and unprofessional. Like, but I mean, it happens
if they
like
kick it in London.
Yeah, but like, I mean, it'd be like 2 weeks, right? Like the game against Washington. Which one is that?
Washington is, I got it for you, right? Oh, that's the wrong one. Well, that's after the bye week.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure, because like I wanted to make sure that it wasn't like a Monday night game or something. No.
So would you?
The bye week last year, wasn't the bye week after one of like we had a.
Oh, we played Detroit after the bye week last year and we beat them.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what it was. We played Detroit after our bye because it was a late bye.
But there wasn't there like the week before that we played on Thursday night.
And got that 10 days rest, right? That's what you're saying?
Yeah, because I
Mhm.
kind of remember that something like that where it's like we had an unusually long bye week, and usually in the past, like that doesn't work out well for teams going from Thursday night all the way to then like 10 days later or whatever. Like that tends to be a little bit too much rest for some
Too
teams
much time
sometimes.
off. I'm glad you said that because later the Bears actually play 3 games in 10 days. So I can't wait till we get to that stretch of the schedule and see how we.
That'll
think
be
they
interesting.
can- Yeah, that's crazy. 3 games in 10 days, and we can break it down once we get there.
What do you have for Washington?
Washington week. What is this? 8 noon game.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, so before I go to Washington, would you count that Jacksonville game as prime time? 8:30 in the morning. Only team playing.
No, I don't technically qualify it as prime time.
Okay.
Because I mean, I feel like the concept of prime time is it's in a prime time for viewership.
Mhm.
And to be quite honest with you, 8:30 in the morning is not a prime time for most viewership. I mean, I'm awake right now, but that's because I start work usually at 6 in the morning. So I'm always awake at 8:30 in the morning. But when I move to second shift, I don't know if I'll be awake by 8:30 in the morning every day. I'll be setting my alarm for that day, that's for sure.
Yeah, okay. I just want to, because I've been seeing some online debates about how many primetime games the Bears actually got, because we got Thanksgiving.
I guess
this
it bases
year,
what your definition of primetime is, because some people base it as it's the only team that's on at that time period,
and
it's on a different channel. In which case, yes, this would classify, I believe, because I think it's on like what is it? NFL Network. NFL Network. The England game.
England game. Okay.
If you open up that thing, it might even tell you. Oh, wrong graphic. Oh no, that one doesn't say. So I have a different graphic that I looked at, and it has it as on being on the NFL Network.
Well, that ain't.
Yeah,
that ain't prime time, man.
I don't think so, because that's not going to draw the maximum viewership.
Right. Well, hey, look, I got Washington as a W. Jaden Daniels, Jaden Daniels had 2 dogs at LSU. Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas Jr. I forgot what number pick Brian Thomas was. If y'all can put that in the chat, let me know what pick Brian Thomas was.
I just remembered something.
What's up?
Remember that wide receiver Adonai Mitchell that Wes was real high up on from Texas, I believe?
Yep.
No, Georgia.
I remember.
Georgia
what about him?
And Texas. He's with the Colts. So
that's true. That's a fact.
I mean, that may give us a little more problems, but I mean, a rookie wide receiver isn't necessarily gonna be able to like blow past. I mean, we got 2 good cornerbacks, so
we got some dogs.
Now I'm not as worried on that. Just it's something that I thought to bring up because it just popped into my head. But as far as I don't know,
Jaden Daniels. For me, do you remember where Brian Thomas went? What round was he?
He was first round for sure.
Or who he went to?
But, Wes says that he's with the Jags.
Okay, so he's in Jacksonville.
So who was it that the Commanders? I almost said Redskins, but Commanders picked up.
Jaden Daniels. He don't got
that, though.
Jaden Daniels don't got Malik Neighbors. He don't got Brian Thomas. He got who they got in Washington? They do got Terry McLaurin. They got him. I feel like they took another receiver. I'm pretty sure they took another receiver, but they still got that D line. They got 2 the D tackles, Deron Payne and
they got Jazon Newton.
They got John. They drafted Johnny Newton.
Their first wide receiver was 100th overall, Luke McCaffrey.
Oh wow, we about to stomp these dudes. Yeah, it's over with. That's a guaranteed dub. This dub for me is should be as easy as the Panthers dub, unless Jaden Daniels which I doubt, unless he just go crazy.
But I mean, what does he have? It's not like he's sitting there with a plethora of weapons,
exactly.
like to throw to. Like so, even if he goes crazy, it'd be hard. I mean, let's face it, we've run into this problem before of it in this day and age. It's a lot harder to have a absolute stud of a quarterback with nobody to throw to. Like you got to have at least adequate receivers out there so that you can at least make them look better.
Scary Terry not going to be enough. We got 3 good cornerbacks in my opinion. I like Tyreek Stevenson and Kyler Gordon. We double scary. It's going to be a long day for Jaden Daniels. That's a W for me in week 8.
I agree. It looks like our chat seems to agree with that as well. And we will have a live reporter from that game. Wes will be at that game in Washington, D.C.
Yep.
He's been talking about it for a while. He's real excited to fly out. He's got some family out there. And he will definitely be joining us live after the game. While we do our post-game show, he will be joining us live with hopefully all the crying Commanders fans out there disappointed that they couldn't beat the Bears.
He just got to make sure he don't go overdo his celebration. He in enemy territory, so he got to.
Now, one of the things is to keep in mind, Montez Sweat may feel like getting in a little bit more.
That is Montez Sweat,
his former team.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Oh, Montez
seems to have. I mean, not that like them trading him was a bad thing for him. He got a $99 million contract for 4 years out of it. He's not too upset about it, I'm sure of it. But I don't know. Maybe he might feel like he when you go up against your former team, you always kind of get this kind of like, I want to do my best. I want to kind of like show them I don't need them, that I'm doing better where I am now. Like he could get 3-4 sacks that game. Who knows?
Look, Jaden Daniels. I can't wait to that game because that's like the first. Is that the first? Yeah, that's the first rookie quarterback he played this year, right? Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, it should be. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure. Yeah,
unless for some reason any of the other people decide to throw in a random ass rookie quarterback. Technically, I mean, I guess you could kind of say that maybe Anthony Richardson is kind of closer to being a rookie than he is a sophomore, only because he only played like 4 games last year. But as far as like classification standards, he is no longer a rookie either. So, yeah, I mean, that game is his first going up against one of the rookie quarterbacks. I mean, he does have another game a couple games later, but
see, and so we are. I got us at 6-1 right now, and it's like
hold the phone. I just noticed something. We gonna have Wes at games 2 weeks in a row. Is that the case, Wes? You gonna be at 2 Bears games in a row?
Because, like you said, next week we move to Arizona. We traveling down there.
Wes sure as hell seems excited about that, and I am jealous as fuck. Wes gonna be going to he's gonna be joining us for a post game live after each of those games.
Washington and Arizona. So we got the Bears at 6-1. That don't scare you a little bit? It made me think like, damn. But when you go back and look at those games, it's hard to argue being 6-1 at this point. Week 9.
I mean, worst case scenario at this point, we're 5-2. I mean, even still, like 5-2 ain't even really nothing to be too like worried about either. Like, but that does worry me about this next stretch.
I would love to be 5-2 right now, but the schedule is set up for us to be 6-1, 5-1, or 5-2, or whatever. Because, like you said, that next stretch is crazy. So let's get to that next stretch. So we got Arizona, week 9. Marvin Harrison Jr., Kyler Murray.
I mean, the Cardinals added a lot in their draft.
Like, they had a lot of picks.
A lot, way more than anybody else. But I don't know. Like, you look at it and you're like, okay, well, how many of them are going to be starters? How many of them are going to be impact players? Probably maybe a handful. And I don't know. Like, we have added more in our offseason than they did, as far as like players, talent and stuff like that. Like, we have, like, I know we were talking about it a few weeks ago, and you don't like the whole people saying that we drafted Keenan Allen with our 4th pick or whatever, but like,
it makes sense. It's just weird. It's just weird.
But like, I mean, I get where you're coming from on that, but like, at the end of the day, we added him this offseason. We added Montez Sweat and halfway through last season, and we beat the Cardinals last year, right?
Yep.
It wasn't as like impressive of a win, if I remember correctly. I think I missed that game.
It could have been better. It definitely could have been better.
I can't remember what I was doing. When was that? I can't remember what I was doing, but I think I missed that game.
Like week maybe 12, something like that, 13, 14.
Oh, I might have been coming home from Thanksgiving out in Iowa. So who knows? I don't know. But no matter what, it could have been better, but we still won. And we improved in almost every aspect of our team this year. I mean, this offseason. We added a good safety. We added a better running back. We added a quarterback that, I mean, if he is who we think he is, this is going to be a difficult offense to stop. He will have so many people to throw to. And I get it. Kyler Murray has got the best wide receiver from that class. But we probably got the second best, debatable. Like, I mean, there's room for argument there, but we got maybe the second best wide receiver from that class. And their number 1 wide receiver is going to be Marvin Harrison Jr.
And so the Cardinals, this is I think we're beating this team. We're gonna beat this team. But like you said, if Caleb, that's the thing. If Caleb is who we think he is, there's no debating this schedule. So up until this point, we don't know that yet. But if he is if Caleb is who he think he is, you can, like, there's no arguing with based on the strength of this schedule. There's no arguing that, we would be 7-1 right now. Like, you could confidently say that. Remains to be seen if Caleb is who he think he is or who we think he is. But
I mean, who we think he is who he's kind of like it put himself out there as.
He said he's 5'5". You talk about Kyler Murray. Look, Kyler Murray good, but I'm just looking at because we got them 7-1. If I got them winning this game, meaning I got the Bears 7-1 up until this point, and this point being, what is this, week 9?
Week 9
against Arizona.
Being 7-1 at week 9, that's something that I don't think Bears fans have seen for a long time.
I mean, the best start I remember is, I think it was 2019, and Mitch. We had Mitch, or it was 20. I think it was 2019. We had Mitch, and we started 5-1. And I think that's the same year we went on that 6-game losing streak shortly after that. That's probably the best start I remember. Jay Cutler might have had.
I know one of Lovie Smith's teams, he went on like a really, really good start, and then
Jay Cutler got hurt. I think that's that year. I remember that year too. Jay Cutler, I think he broke his thumb.
And then Caleb Haney came in or some shit. Like I don't know at that point. But
he said keyboard.
Like I'm with you. Like 7-2 or 7-1 at this point. I don't really have anything to argue. The only real argument that I could make is maybe we don't win against the Rams. Like that's the only one that I see us. Maybe it doesn't work out how we've been talking about.
I agree with that. I definitely agree with that.
So like even if I'm playing devil's advocate here, like worst case scenario 6-2, which still would have been. I mean, last year we went 0-4.
Yep.
So Bears fans really like 6-2 is nothing to really like. It is definite huge improvements. I mean, we've made huge improvements to our team, so I would hope that the expectation is that we would be better. Like we've added weapons when we said DJ Moore was the only wide receiver. We've legitimately added 2 good weapons in that scenario. We've added a tight end who one of the biggest things that he's known for is yards after the catch.
Right.
And that's good to have, especially in a tight end. And I know that's one of the things that Travis Kelce gets a lot of recognition for. So I don't know. I'm with you. At this point, I'm saying we're 7-1. Oh yeah. Obviously. Wes reminded me, don't miss Swift. And like that, and he's a receiving running back. That's one of the things that we didn't have in our previous running back core was receiving. Like we didn't have as many receivers or people that can catch the ball reliably from our running backs in our running back room. But
Bear Truth 9 in the chat. I haven't seen you in the chat before. I appreciate you jumping in and talking to Chicago Bears with us on this Saturday. He said if we come out first half of the season 5-3, we in a very good position. I agree with that. And see, and that's the thing. Like what we're doing right now, obviously a lot can happen. This is at this point, we're 7 or 8 games into the season. Injuries can happen, which it's football. You know, people get hurt. So this is basically on in a vacuum. We're not taking into account any major crisis. Obviously, we had a fucking defensive coordinator get fired or resign, however you want to say it, week 2 last year. So anything can fucking happen. But he said 5-3, we in a good position. I agree with that. It's a good chance we're not 7 what we got them at 7-2, 7-1 right
7-1.
now. It's a good chance this does not work out perfectly. This is a perfect season. You know what I mean? If everything goes right, everything clicks.
And he said even if at 5-4, we would still be in a good position. Because I mean, being above 500 at this point in the season wouldn't be too bad. Definitely not something that we've been in before or recently, I should say.
Yeah, 5-4 for me personally. Bear True. I'm okay with it, but I'm a little worried either because this is as easy as it's gonna get this year for us. We're gonna get to the second half of this schedule. I'm a little worried. I'm asking some questions. I'm watching people. I'm watching Matt Eberflus a little harder. That seat getting a little hotter for Matt Eberflus if we're 5-4 at this point. But that's just my personal opinion on that. Nicholas Robinson said Bear offense gonna be high class. Getting a Doomsday was the right pick. Bear Truth said it will be interesting to see how our offense grows. I agree with that. We got a lot of pieces that we need to put
It's really
together.
fun to watch.
The growth, just watching these boys grow out there on the field is going to be dope. Wes said, no, we need to be way above 500 before the divisional stretch. And that's exactly what I was getting to. Good looking, Wes putting that in the chat. Bear Truth said the defense is going to be solid to very good. And the offense grows, the better we will be. The better we will get with momentum. I agree with that. And I'm glad he's saying grow. You know what I mean? That's a key word, because I know a lot of Bears fans expecting to come out there in 28-7 the fucking Titans. It's gonna be cool if we pull out a 17-14 classic Chicago Bear victory. It's gonna be cool. It's gonna be growth. We gotta let these dudes grow.
I mean, but it would be cool if we come out there in like 40-27. I mean, that would be cool too. I mean, we don't do that very often, but this is what Wes was talking about before. Like, we're getting away from that, like, Bears are only a defensive team stigma that we've kind of, or identity, I think, that we've kind of built ourselves up for so long.
Right.
And kind of similarly to like how the Steelers have built their identity on like defense. Like, they will overpay for a linebacker when they don't need one type of defense. Like, that identity, to me, it doesn't fit as well in the current state of the NFL. So having, I mean, we're focusing in the offense for like the first time in as far back as I can remember. And that's a good thing for the Chicago Bears fans going forward. Because, I mean, I like to watch them on defense. Like, some of my favorite players are on defense, but I'll be real with you. Like, some of my favorite plays to watch last year were offense. Like a long pass to DJ Moore or Justin Fields taking off and running for a lot or scrambling and getting out. Like, they were fun to watch. They made it exciting. Now, it didn't necessarily produce enough wins. So this offense could produce the wins while also being exciting.
The offense sell tickets. That's what get the butts in the seat. So
I ain't buying tickets to the game because I don't got money like that.
I gotta look. I didn't catch a Justin Fields game. I watched some Mitch Trubisky games. I didn't catch a Jay Cutler game either. But I'll make sure I get out there and see Caleb. At least try to get at least a couple games in Caleb's rookie season. I'm gonna try. It may not work out that way, but I'm definitely gonna try. Where we at? Week 10?
Yep, week 10.
I think. New England Patriots. Drake May. Mitchell Trubisky 2.0.
I don't know. See, like, I was always against that because people always said Mitchell Trubisky 2.0 because of the fact that he came from North Carolina. And I'm like, we can't say that. Like, people kept saying that Ohio State never produced a good quarterback until they did. And it's like, you can't base somebody on their school. It doesn't make, it's harder, I think.
No, I agree. Drake May, because we all remember when Mitchell Trubisky was in college. When you start hearing stories about the Bears may take Trubisky, everybody looked at his highlight tape and he only started 13 games. You barely could find any highlights. That ain't the case with Drake May. Drake May was slinging the rock around the field, but he ain't Caleb Williams. I got the Bears winning this game. Bear Truth said Caleb is a good man. I watched countless hours on him, and I went back and watched Luck, Mahomes, Manning, and Elway. As much as I could find on YouTube, and Caleb better than all of them. That's bold. But I mean, Mahomes, you got to remember, Mahomes wasn't in college. He wasn't like this. He wasn't projected to be the prospect, the player he is today. Andrew Luck was. He was a dog. Andrew Luck was a dog coming into the league, and he was a dog when he was in the league. Peyton Manning is another one, and Elway is another one. So I guess that Mahomes is the only one I would push back on that list, but that's bold. That's bold. I don't know if I'm gonna go that far. Bare truth. He also said the only hard part was Caleb wasn't in a pro style offense like Luck. Yeah. Caleb was in shotgun a lot. Wes said win. I agree. Benjamin Ball said the Patriots game has to be a W. I got $100 on that one. Hey, betting always motivates you in one way or another in any sport. $100. What you winning off that $100? You on FanDuel or something? Wes said this your 40-point game, Devin.
I mean, if this is, sorry about that. I had some technical difficulties with my earbuds today. But I mean, I'd be happy with the 40-point game here. Because I mean, the going up against a team that's in their rebuilding stage, kind of like we are, but we just seem to be a little further along. Like this could be kind of like okay, we're starting a winning culture against some of these teams that, given 2-3 years from now, it is a contending team, and we're starting this winning culture against them.
Yes,
and
sir.
So having it, like, for example, the Patriots 2-3 years from now, if Drake May lives up to his potential, even though I have been hearing reports that he's not doing as well in training camp, but then again, I was hearing reports. No, Drake May.
Oh, Drake. Oh, yeah.
But then I heard reports that the only one who was doing poorly was JJ McCarthy, based on something that his coach had said in an interview about him. The answers he was giving weren't like, oh yeah, he's doing great, it's going really well. It's like talking about how coachable he is and stuff like that. And that tells me, like, well, maybe that's kind of his way of sidestepping the issue. But I don't know. I've just, like, for Drake May, it's like if he goes in there and he gets, like, they did end up drafting a wide receiver, the other wide receiver from, where was it? LSU or Washington State? One of the two. They ended up drafting for him. So they got him. They kind of went the same route that the Bears did in drafting a quarterback first and then going and getting him a weapon second. Now, you brought up when we were doing our position breakdowns that there are a number of wide receivers that were taken outside of the first round that went on to become Pro Bowl players.
Yes, sir.
And so that may happen, that may not happen. Who knows? But as far as the Bears going in, I feel like we're the team that's further along in our development as this rebuild.
Sure.
And I feel pretty confident agreeing with Wes here, saying that this could be our 40-point game. and it's at home. Like, being at home, and if we are at the record that we are talking about, like a 7-1, 6-2 type of record at this point, going against New England at home, like, Bears fans will show up and every single one of them will have their nails painted. That's for sure. They'd be out there absolutely ready to cheer on Caleb Williams at that point.
I think, like you just look, winning. If we're winning, if we're because I got them winning this game, so that put us at 8-1. Yeah, it sound crazy. It really sound crazy as shit when you say that. But all I can do, and if look, we could throw some L's in there. You know how, like, some people be like, well, because I don't think the Bears are this good to do something like that, I'm just throw an L here or I'm gonna throw an L there. People do that
all the time. They look at their previous record that they've kind of planned out, like saying, oh, they've won this many games, so they have to have a loss here because it just makes sense. But, like, if you're breaking them down game by game, this game I wouldn't put an L at.
Exactly. And it's like you said, the Rams. That's for me. I can't see any other. Maybe Indy. Maybe that's a slim maybe. But other than that, I can't see it. I just can't see it unless Caleb sucks. and then that's a whole different conversation. So different conversation we having.
We got Bear Truth over here. He said, go watch Caleb's tape and what he does and his great understanding and leverage, and look at what Rome does. We're with you. We've gone over this tape so much, gone over his tape, Rome's tape, Malik Neighbors tape, freaking all of the defensive linemen, defensive tackles, not so much the tackles, but we did look at a few of those. But like a lot of the edge rushers and stuff like that, like we looked at all of that tape too, because we're with you. At that point, we looked at Caleb and we said, okay, he's our guy, and we're behind this 100%.
Yep. And look, hey Benjamin, we are all right there with you. I'm just saying that's the only way I could see this schedule not playing out this way. I mean, and injuries, of course. We already went over that earlier. You want to get into our first division game of the season against?
Real quick before we do, just want to thank Bear Truth for joining in. Be sure to come back and join us. We do this show about every week on Saturday.
Yes, sir.
Great
yes,
show.
Sir.
Talking Bears football, almost always at least 3 hours long. I feel like some of our shows we had is like 4 hours long.
Oh, for sure. And you know how it goes when you talk. I'm sure he knows how it goes when you talking Bears football. And sometimes it can snowball and you get into your feelings and you start, because we love this team so much. So you can go on tangents.
How many times have we had other stuff that we were planning on talking about and we're like, well, it's 4 hours long. We got to wrap this show up and we'll talk about this another time.
Right.
Let's get into our first divisional game there.
Go ahead, Green Bay. First divisional game, and I got some things I want to say about this portion of the schedule. This is why, and Wes alluded to it earlier. This is why you can't be 5-4 at that point, because I don't care what nobody said about the paper. And when they get to these divisional games, you could have the way better team and still lose that divisional game. You know what I mean? It's divisional game. These is little brothers and cousins and stuff like that. So Green Bay, week 11, noon game. I'm shocked this is not a prime time game. You know they love to put us on prime time against the Packers. I'm shocked it's not. Oh man. Look, I gotta see it again from Jordan Love. I said that at the beginning of the show. I'm not a fan of their wide receivers. I know Jaden Reed, Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson, and those dudes, they're young receivers. They had good years. I don't think that team is better than ours, but it's just something about playing the Packers. I don't think the Packers had a better roster than us the last couple seasons. But they somehow pull it out. I do think they got us in the trenches, and that might decide this game. Their D-line is better than our D-line. I think their O-line is.
They improved their offensive line too in the draft.
Yep, and I don't know if I want to go as far as to say it's better, but it's more established. How about that? More established than our O-line. So they got us in the trenches, and a lot of games are won in the trenches. Golly, I don't know. Devin, what you thinking? I don't know what the pick here. I don't. What you thinking?
See, this game is gonna be where it gets a little trickier for me, because it's like we have a lot of progress and that the stuff that we've added to our team and stuff like that, but then we got the Packers, and it's like
we got a Packer fan in the chat. You see him?
Yeah, I mean, just goes to show you that there are Packer fans out there, and I mean they have been saying for many years that they don't even think about us anymore, and yet we got a Packer fan trolling us on our own podcast. Like, you have to literally go and look us up to try and find us right now. And he out here trolling us on our own podcast. But I don't know. I feel like if we're really gelling and everything's going well, we could potentially shock the world, like Wes had pointed out earlier. This is one of those games where we could shock people by getting this win. Because right now, even with the way things are unfolding, people still have us as the number 3 in the North.
And that's that. I don't agree with that.
I don't. It's just a matter of like that. That just seems to be where people were putting us, and
right.
I'm perfectly fine for being underestimated. To be quite honest with you, I would rather be underestimated and have them think, because you can see how this fan is out here talking to us saying that like we haven't won since 2018. This is how they talk. They expect to beat us, so they won't prepare for us. They just expect it to come easily. And
I just want to put out there real quick. Ozza, he is a fan of the show. He's been in here. You know where I'm at if you paid attention to the show. I'm in Packer country. I'm in Packer country, so I know him.
I'm not trying to like throw shade or nothing like that.
No, throw as much shade as you can.
That's how Packers fans tend to view the Bears. They view it as 2 automatic wins for their season. And when you go in with that mentality, that's where you're the most vulnerable. I remember back when, not to go off topic too far, but when the Bulls were playing against the Heat, the LeBron James Heat, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, there were times when like they would go up against them, and I think one of the games, if I remember correctly, we were on like our 3rd string point guard. Okay. John Lucas III. Okay. Dude has never been heard from again. Okay. I don't think he's played much since then. He was small as hell. He blocked LeBron James during that game. I'm just pointing out that they underestimated the Bulls because the Bulls were hurt and injured, and they weren't a great team at that time. They underestimated the Bulls. And so because of that, they went in and they lost. And the same thing happens in the NBA now. Teams that you're supposed to beat, if you underestimate them, you can lose. The Pistons lost how many games? 22, 25 games in a row this season. They had a win at some point, but they ended up winning against the team. So
I think that was like the Celtics or something. It was a good team. They ended up.
I thought it was. It might. I was thinking maybe it was the Spurs, in which case it wouldn't be that big of a deal because the Spurs didn't do so well last year. But like, the same concept though. Like when you lose that many games in a row, people are gonna overlook you and just write you off as a win.
So you telling Packer fans they better not overlook us?
Well, I'm telling Packer fans that at this point, you can overlook us if you want to, but that's not going to end well for you because, like, we are not the same team that we have been for the past 10 years or however long they want us, like, want to say that we haven't won or whatever. Like, we're not the same team that we have been. We are definitely making these bigger improvements, and you can't really compare last year's games because last year was the first game and the last game. The first game we didn't have Montez Sweat yet. We really were trying to like figure out how to play together because like I think it was like 50% of the starting defense was new. And so when you're coming in and that's your first game of the season, I mean, we had probably about like 3 or 4 games that we needed to kind of shake things off. And then we started picking it up. So honestly, at that point, I'm sitting there like, okay, we have the potential to get all of that out of the way early on in the season against some teams where if we make a few mistakes, maybe it doesn't cost us the game.
Yep.
Like I'm not going to go out and say that the Packers are a bad team because they're I mean, they're a pretty solid team. They went to the playoffs last year. They squeaked in, and then they obliterated the Cowboys at home. And the Cowboys are not an easy team to beat at home. And they went in and just made them look like they didn't know what they were doing. And so I don't know. I'm saying that we win this game.
Before I give my prediction, Bear Truth said, yeah, Caleb, an intelligent guy. As corny as it may be, the Claw is bringing the team together and the fans. I told y'all what I think about the Claw. It's like people who say it's lame or corny or whatever you call it, it's just like, I'm pretty sure, and this is no shade to nobody, but I'm pretty sure if I went down your social media page or whatever, I would find some lame, corny, or whatever, shit too. So it's just a Claw. Who, if you like it, do it. If you don't. You know what I mean?
Another thing is, Packer fans should not be throwing any shade about the Claw. They over there sticking a block of cheese on their head. Come on.
Man, I deal with Packer fans every day. You know that. And man, so I got to give us the L on this one. I'm not even gonna lie. We got to take the L. I'm gonna go loss. This would be our second loss of the season for me.
I have us pulling out a win, like at home. Like maybe if we were in Green Bay and like we were going into their house, but I feel like it is going to be a packed house, and with the way the season looks,
right,
we could potentially carry momentum into that game. And I mean, I'm not saying it's going to be if we win, it's an easy win,
right?
Because, like I said, they are a good team. As much as I talk shit about the Packers, I understand that they are a good team. Like the NFC North could be one of the best divisions in the entire league at this point.
For sure. Yep. Facts.
At the end of this season, like this team could potentially, like, I know it doesn't happen very often, but like this team could potentially send 3 teams to the playoffs or this division. And I think it happened last year.
I think the NFC East did it.
Did the Bengals make the playoffs last year?
No, they missed it.
No, they didn't. Okay. So because this Ravens and the Browns made it and the Steelers almost made it.
Nicholas Robinson said, I get what you're saying, but don't ever put the Packers and that Miami team in the same sentence. Oh, damn. That was okay. That was a little minute ago. Wes said 24-21, we win. Write it down, boss. Look, I gotta give us the L on this one, man. Just because I think we get outcoached here. I think this is the game, not McVay. I think this is the game we get outcoached. Matt LaFleur, I like the way he coached, and I don't think Eberflus. I think he's a better coach than Eberflus. I think he can put shit together regardless of the names or the talent on his team. I think Matt LaFleur can draw it up. I think we lose.
I have a question for you now.
What's up?
So what would it take for you to say, okay, I think we win this game? Like if Caleb comes out and is all-star from the first game,
right?
Like if he's out there throwing for 250, 300 plus yards per game on a consistent basis, would you be more comfortable putting a W in this game?
Much more comfortable. And honestly, I would be even more comfortable if we just beat them a couple times within the last 10 times.
Well, but see, like we can't go back and look at the past. Like it's unfortunate that we have a lot, like we were just talking about with setting up a winning culture against certain teams. They have set up a winning culture against us. Like we have dealt with that for a while, but at some point it's got to give. Like you can't just always beat a team. Like it's not gonna just always happen. Like a fluke could happen and we end up winning.
Bear Truth said week 10 and on, we should have our identity offensively. The team gelling as a whole and picking up steam if we start strong. I think we get outcoached. I think we get outcoached this game, and it's gonna suck. This is gonna be one of those games where we could have and should have won, and we get outcoached. I just can feel it. I can feel it. Now, week 18 is a different story. We gonna get there.
Week 18 is in Green Bay, so I mean, I was already planning to give week 18 to Green Bay.
Are we resting?
Like at that point, I was ready to. I mean, I guess it depends. If we are in the playoffs and they're fighting for a playoff spot, I don't know if we rested. Like, I don't know if they are out there resting their players and saying it's okay if Green Bay wins, they're in the playoffs, and we would just be okay with that. I don't know if I would want to play the Packers in the playoffs. Like, at that point, I don't want that. So if there's any type of scenario like that, like we've had that like 2 or 3 times now, where it feels like the last game of the season against the Packers, like, affects the playoff outcome and playoff race. If that were the scenario, I would say go for it and just beat them.
I damn sure don't want to see them in the playoffs. That's the last place I want to see Green Bay. Bear Truth said Flus is believe have never lost to Shanahan. I think the 4-0. I think he 4-0, the offense comes along, I feel good at our chances to win. That's our second loss. That's our second loss to me.
I mean, let's be real. 7-2 really ain't that bad.
I got us at 8-2.
Oh, my bad. I missed one.
8-2. So you got us 9-1, correct?
Yeah, I guess so. Damn, that just sounds crazy to me.
It does, and even 8-2 sound crazy. But we going through each game, and like I said, you can say just by odds sake, we gonna have some more L's in there. You know what I mean? If you want to just say play the odds game, yeah, we probably will. I probably wouldn't bet that the Bears gonna be 8-2 up until this point. But I'm going through each game and I'm putting them head to head with each of these teams, and we giving our opinions on it. And Shanahan, the third architect to that style offense. So let's move on, because next week, because this is the start of a gauntlet. We play, I think,
really is
6 division games in 8 weeks, right? 6, all of our division games within an 8-week span to end this year. And this is the gauntlet, which I'm glad.
If I remember correctly, I was reading about it that like us and the Steelers have the longest like string of games before we play our first divisional game. And that's going to be interesting, because it's like the Steelers kind of in a like similar spot in their division as we are. Like, your division games all piling up at the end of the year. You could kind of like last year, the Eagles went undefeated for their first quite a few games, like 7 games or something like that. 8. I'm not entirely sure. It could be even 11 or something, but they went undefeated for a while, and then they started losing games, and then when it came time for the playoffs, they just seemed gassed out there, and they just could not play defense as well and stuff like that. So I don't know. Like, this is going to be a test for our new team, like dealing with all these difficult games back to back to back. Like that is one unfortunate thing about starting off the season with so many of these quote unquote easier teams is
right.
Now you gotta fight every single week at this point.
For sure. And now I do want to say this. If the first half of these games, the first 9 games, if we are like growing, like we see the growth and we're not just winning games by this and that, the tip of the ball, they bounce this way. If we look
If
good,
Mhm.
then these games won't matter. They won't matter that much, if that makes sense.
I mean, if we're out here talking about like how we're seeing like Tory Taylor pinning the other team every single time, deep into their territory and stuff,
Mhm.
and our defense is getting safeties and getting sacks, and we're just out there picking teams off. And like, if we're playing an all around well-rounded good game on all 3 phases, I'm honestly at this point, I'm not as worried about these games.
Yep.
Even if we lose a couple of them, it's not as important. But I'm not even worried about losing it very many of them, because if we're clicking on all cylinders, then we're at that point where it's like things are coming easier. We're seeing things better, and we're going through and just getting those wins, and it's things are coming. Like, it's almost like the game is slowing down for our players a little bit.
Yeah, and specifically Caleb at that point. If the game if it's doing that, you damn right. We're gonna feel way better about picking these as dubs. Even that Packer game. So by this time, I'll really know. Obviously, even after training camp, we'll have a better idea of what our team looks like. But by fucking week 9, I'll have a real good idea on if we're gonna beat Green Bay or not. But right now, it's an L for me. Let's move on to week 12. The Minnesota Vikings, the second game of this divisional gauntlet that we're going through. 12 p.m. regular game.
I just realized, like, all of our primetime games, we had one early on, and then our last ones are like real late in the season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep, that's true. We got a bunch of.
Oh wait, no, I guess we do. Technically, I guess you want to consider the next Detroit game a primetime game.
And I was going to ask you that. Yeah, I was going to ask you that when we got to that one. If you consider,
let's focus on the Vikings for right now.
Okay, Minnesota. Look, W. They blitz a lot. They blitz a shit ton, and it rattles quarterbacks. It does. Brian Flores loves to blitz. They got Dallas Turner. They drafted Dallas Turner. I did not want him to go there. I am not a fan of JJ McCarthy. I think JJ McCarthy will struggle, and especially like I was telling you about my my theory with this Tampa 2. Average to below average quarterbacks struggle against it. Disguise the zone. He's not elite enough to hit those NFL windows. I think we win this game.
And you're not saying that he won't become elite enough, but this early on in his career, he isn't that. And I would agree with you. Like, so many people kept like hyping JJ up all of a sudden out of nowhere. He came in as like, people were saying he's the best quarterback in the class besides Caleb Williams. And it literally came out of nowhere. And people were using his championship win as validation for him being the best quarterback. And I'm sitting there like, a championship win, you're not bringing the entire Michigan team, even though it feels like the entire Michigan team got drafted. You're not bringing the entire Michigan team to the Vikings. And even if you did, you're going to put a college team up against NFL teams? That's not going to fly.
Yeah,
I don't know.
JJ, he didn't throw the ball enough. And I keep seeing that, like, reps matter. I mean, it's obvious. Reps matter.
People kept trying to say, like, well, then how can you say that he's a bad quarterback if you don't really know? Well, how can you say that he's a good one if you can't really tell. It's the same concept at that point. You can't say that somebody's good if you haven't seen them throw the ball enough to know that they're good.
Yeah,
Like
I don't trust JJ
I'm more
McCarthy.
comfortable saying he's bad if I haven't seen him throw because if you were an all-star level quarterback in college, I don't care what coach you have, you would be sitting there and like your coach would like. Jim Harbaugh is not an idiot. If he had
Right.
an all-star level quarterback, like NFL caliber, but just sitting there in college, if he had that, he would be throwing a lot more. I understand he loves to run the ball, but he's also smart enough to know how to rearrange his scheme and his offense on his personnel as opposed to what he wants to do.
So what you think about this game? Where you putting this in the?
I'm putting this as a win. I mean,
dub.
the think of how loud it will be in Soldier Field,
Mm-hmm.
and a young quarterback trying to figure out cadence. Even though this is halfway through the season, like you're still trying to get the hang of it. So I mean, that's even if JJ McCarthy is the starter. As of right now, I don't think they've named him the starter. I know the Bears have named Caleb the starter.
Yep.
Like Flus was asked last week, I believe, about like, will there be a competition? He's like, there's no competition. Caleb's the starter. Like that. It didn't surprise anybody, in my opinion. But like, I feel like with Minnesota, there are still talks that maybe Sam Darnold could be the starter. I mean, I say we're beating Sam Darnold or JJ McCarthy.
I wouldn't want to be in that situation. I'm starting JJ McCarthy. I don't necessarily think he's ready to start, but I'm not starting Sam Darnold, and that's where I would be if I was the GM there. So
heck, and at this far in the season, anyways, even if they do start Sam Darnold in the beginning of the season, this far into the season, unless Sam Darnold went on like a tear, then they would have already looked into like moving him out and starting JJ. Because that's week 12. That's pretty far into the season. That's 12 weeks and enough to know that it doesn't if it does or doesn't work, and giving McCarthy enough time to acclimate to the team. But I don't know. They do got a pretty solid wide receiver core. I mean, their two are probably, I would say, better than our two. Their top two are probably better than our top two, maybe. I mean, their one is better than anything we have.
I'll give him Jettas, but I can't give Jordan Addison over DJ.
I mean, he's pretty damn good out there.
He is good. He ain't DJ.
Like to be fair, his huge season last year was him being the primary target because Jefferson was hurt. But I mean, I am looking at the fact that like, okay, well, that could have been his breakout season, and you'd be like, okay, now we know we have two weapons to throw to that like you can trust. And so who knows? At that point, they have a good 1 and 2, but when you take 1, 2, and 3, I don't think very many teams out there beat the Bears as far as their wide receiver room.
Bear Truth said, I know I probably sound like a Caleb fanboy, but nah, I just think Caleb a different dude. And I'm pretty even killed 97% of the time.
I mean, you sound exactly like Mark Robb over here. when we first started doing this show and he was talking about Caleb, I can tell you right now that Mark Robb was definitely trying to get us to really invest in Caleb. And at the time, we were still a little bit more on the Justin Fields train there. And then during our very first show, they traded Justin Fields during the show. very good moment in my opinion, and like good memory for me. Disappointing that it happened, but very cool that we were able to cover that live. But he we definitely leaned into it after the trade happened. But Mark Robb has been he's been on that train a few stops before us, let's just say.
So just what I gotta say to that is I just didn't understand. I still don't understand. I just didn't understand. Like, I don't know. I just didn't understand how Justin made his way into so many fans' hearts. I just don't. I get it. He was electrifying sometimes, but I just didn't understand like the idea of not taking Caleb, because it's like I thought that was the whole plan when we traded the first round pick when Bryce Young and CJ Stroud were rookies. I thought that was the plan. Like, okay, if Justin isn't good, then we gave ourselves an out plan. We'll package our 2 first round picks and try to move up and get Caleb, which whoever had Caleb at that time isn't they're not moving off Caleb, regardless of how many first round picks. That's what I thought. I'm like, okay, the backup plan is in full effect now because Justin didn't work out like we thought. I don't know. I didn't understand the attachment, but Bare Truth is in. Go ahead. I almost called you Caleb.
I don't know. Like, I mean, we started out as like not being as into him, but like he's really grown on me. Like, you watch him in all his interviews, you watch his tape. Like, people like to bring up that Notre Dame game last year all the time, but you go the year before and he beat Notre Dame. So, like, I mean, you're not going to win all your games in your entire career. And there's always going to be people that like to point out your mistakes, but like one game, a few games doesn't make an entire quarterback. I mean, that's the same defense that we gave Justin for so many years. Like, you can't put it all on him. Well, the same thing can be said for Caleb. Like, he didn't have a good defense, and that was something that the Bears fans said about Justin for a while, is he lost his games because of his defense. He was putting up good offense and no defense to stop them.
And we watched that. We all watched that. The 3-win season should have been more than 3 wins. We had nothing but Justin. We saw Smith-Marsette get stripped on the sideline. We saw EQ drop a 4th down pass that hit him right in the hands that year. We saw Darnell Mooney bobble a game-winning touchdown against the Commanders. We saw all of that shit. We saw fucking Velus Jones getting opportunity after opportunity to field punts and fumble, and like we saw all of that. So you have to watch these games. That's the thing. You can't form opinions. You have to watch these games and see why Caleb lost or why the Bears
you have
won
to watch
fucking
more
3
than
games.
one, because I'll be the first one to admit where I went wrong. As soon as I saw that we might be getting that first pick, I decided to tune into the very next USC game that I could. And the very next USC game was against Notre Dame. I watched about the first half and I was like, this is trash. And I turned it off. So I will be the first to admit that I make mistakes too. And the fact that I didn't continue watching because I thought to myself, this guy is overhyped. And if I had watched the next game, probably my opinion would have been a lot different. I let my expectations change just based on one half, and that's not fair for anybody. You can't judge a player on one half of football.
Right, and to be fair to Caleb, that the Notre Dame, he threw 3 interceptions in that Notre Dame game. And I think he threw 5 all year. So it's like, he threw like 38.
We've seen too many quarterbacks that threw a lot. So
yeah,
I mean, Jay Cutler. You didn't like Jay Cutler, but I have good memories of watching his games because he could sling the ball like
Jay
crazy.
trusted his arm way too much. He
But-
thought that arm would get him through anything.
And it almost did. There were quite a few times that his arm got him out of some really sticky situations. And I mean, I feel like his receivers helped out a lot. But at the end of the day, we can ride with Caleb because we are Bears fans at the end of the day. Like, he is our quarterback, and I am fully behind him. I feel like the management and team and leadership are behind him, and they have put support around him that we have not seen in my lifetime.
They tried with Cutler a little bit, but nothing to this extent. Let's keep moving on with the rest. We got like 6 more games to get through on this.
We're gonna be here all night if we keep letting ourselves get sidetracked.
Thanksgiving. See, and this is Thanksgiving. Short turnaround. We played Minnesota, then we came. This is our Thursday night football game. So would you count this as a primetime game?
I would count this as a primetime game. I know some people might not, but let me see if my schedule has the network. So for the Thanksgiving game, it's on ABC. It's right in the middle of the day. Like one of the biggest things that people do. I mean, I know my family does it almost every year. Is we eat Thanksgiving while watching football, or like we eat as a family. Football's on in the other room, and when we finish eating, we all kind of make our way into the living room at my grandma's house and kind of hang out watching football and stuff like that. Like that. And to me, the Lions game this year, it's going to be interesting to see because they've got a lot of momentum. And I mean, as far as like from last year, like winning the division, going through, making it so close to the Super Bowl, they are hungry for more. And I mean, they just put their money where their mouth is. That's the right saying. Because for Goff.
Yeah, look, they paid him. We saw it. I personally think, hey, good for you, Goff, and that's a good thing for us because Goff ain't scary. He's not a scary quarterback to me. He don't suck. I'm not saying he's
I mean, we picked him off quite a few times last year.
We definitely did. West said L and D Town. That game is at Ford Field, but look, so. Shout out to Kevin Fishbane, reporter for Chicago Bears and a writer for The Athletic. He gave me this number, this stat. I heard him bring it up. The Detroit Lions have lost their last 7 games in a row on Thanksgiving. 3 of those 7 losses came to the Chicago Bears. I'm sorry, Wes. I'm not scared of that team, and those numbers make me even less scared than I was before. I got a dub. This is a dub for the Bears. We're 10-2.
I'm thinking about the fact that they drafted, I believe their first round pick was a cornerback.
Terrion Arnold. Yep.
I can't remember what their second round pick was, but I feel like it was a defensive player too.
Oh, they definitely got better. That Detroit Lions team got
better. Their defense. I mean, because like I remember when I was watching the draft, it almost made it look like since when we went and grabbed our new quarterback, other teams in our division kind of started looking at defense a little more than they might have.
Right.
Because they were like, okay, well, we gotta improve on defense regardless, whether they already had or not. They were looking at like, okay, well, we got to make improvements because the Chicago Bears are out here boosting up their offense. So, I don't know. Like that game is going to be tight. Like we won one game last year, we lost one. We should have won both.
He definitely should have won.
Couldn't
both.
close out the second or the first game, but we closed out the second game. But I don't know. I'm with you that like being on Thanksgiving and they play on Thanksgiving more than anybody else, except for like maybe one other team. I feel like they play, but like they have been a staple on Thanksgiving, and I don't know. It seems like this could be a game where another one of those ones where like we just kind of establish ourselves as taking the North back. Like this is like a big stage to kind of say this is our division right now.
Yep. What better time to do it than Caleb Williams' rookie year
on Thanksgiving?
On Thanksgiving, and I love Thanksgiving. I love when the Bears play on Thanksgiving. That's definitely a prime.
I thought you were going to say that you love Thanksgiving just in general, because I'm like,
I do love Thanksgiving.
I mean, as a guy who loves to eat, I love Thanksgiving.
You know what sucks about this though? Because I was at work and I was bragging a little bit, like, the Bears played. This is before the official schedule. We had the leaks, and it leaked out that the Bears are going to play the Lions on Thanksgiving. So I was bragging a little bit, and come to find out the Green Bay Packers play on fucking Thanksgiving too. I don't care for that. I don't want to see them after. And I think they get the night game on Thanksgiving. Green Bay versus.
I believe there are 3 games on Thanksgiving now. It used to be just 2, but now I think there are 3.
Yep, and I think the Packers play the Dolphins. They get the late slot.
The Dolphins.
Yeah. Yes.
Why are I always thought it was. So who's the second game? Is it the Cowboys versus Commanders?
Oh, you're right, because the Commanders got to get their Thanksgiving game too, don't they?
Yeah, isn't it always the Cowboys Commanders game on Thanksgiving, or am I misremembering something?
Giants Dallas.
So Commanders don't play on Thanksgiving?
They don't play. It's Giants Dallas, the second game, and then Thursday night football, Miami going to Green Bay in November, late November. That's crazy.
Am I crazy for thinking that it was always the Commanders on Thanksgiving? Like back when they were the Redskins, it was kind of like a Thanksgiving thing. Like
they definitely play a lot. I don't know if they play as much as the Lions, but yeah, they don't play this year.
Well, the Lions play every year.
Right.
Every single year the Lions play, and I believe the Cowboys play too.
Well, yeah, they and we've actually played a lot of Thanksgiving games lately.
Did we play one last year?
Nah, I don't think we were on Thanksgiving.
No, I don't think so. Because we would have had to have played the Lions on Thanksgiving.
Who you got? Who you got for this game? I got the Bears winning on Thanksgiving.
I have to go with you on this one. You know what? I don't know. It just it's tough because it's like as much as we did well against them last year, I'm looking at it like I don't know. I
might have been a Justin thing, because Justin always played well against the Lions.
And honestly, Lions fans are one of the happier ones that we got rid of Justin, because their head coach talked very, very highly of Justin all the time, that he was very elusive, and Justin played well against the Lions a lot. The 2 games last year, like I don't attribute either one of those to Justin losing the game for us. People would say because he fumbled in the very last 30 seconds of the game that lost us the game. No, we were ahead by 2 touchdowns and we let them score twice within like 5 minutes. That's what lost us the game. not one fumble by the quarterback. It didn't help, but it did not lose us the game.
Justin fumbled with 30 seconds to go in that first game.
In the first one, yeah.
I don't put that on him, but I do think he had a hand in that loss because every time they scored.
I'm not saying he's not like, I mean, if you say that a win and a loss is not strictly on the quarterback and you say it's a team sport, he has a hand in every win and loss that's there. Like the entire team does.
Right.
So, and I'm with you that like there are things that he could have done better, but there are also things that our defense could have done better. There are also things that our head coach could have done better that game. I feel like that game he just got out coached at the end. Like
that 4-minute offense killed us. Like we couldn't.
Like I my biggest critique of Eberflus has always been he doesn't seem to make adjustments at halftime. He doesn't seem to like, or when he does make adjustments, it's usually making adjustments to like be okay with them getting 10, 15 yards and not wanting them to get like 20, 30, 40 yards.
Yeah, he's terrible at closing games. He can't button it up and just finish the game. He's terrible at it. I agree.
My biggest thing is if you just let them get 10, 15, 20 yards every single play, it's almost like you gave up a big 40, 50-yard play. Because 2 plays, they're already 40 yards down the field anyways, and you played back to not let them get the deep ball. And
the
to
Cleveland
be honest,
game. Remember the Cleveland game?
He did that way too many times last year. And I mean, and see, the big thing that I look at is he's still kind of learning as a coach too. So like he's been a coach for a long time, but this is his first tenure as a head coach.
Mm-hmm.
There are definitely things that are different. And to me, last year, he had maybe too much on his plate because he didn't have a defensive coordinator the entire year. I don't know if that made much of a difference, but he was doing the job of a defensive coordinator and the head coach. Like there's one thing of calling plays. There's another of doing all the little stuff that the coordinators do, as well as checking up on offense. There's no way that he wasn't involved in offense because that just because it just doesn't make sense.
Bear True jumping in here saying, not saying Flus is that great coach, but have an offense to help play more complementary football. The production will be better. You know
what? I'm gonna go ahead and say for a W here because I feel like
W on Thanksgiving.
I feel like our defense played well against him probably for about like 7 out of 8 quarters last year.
Mm-hmm.
And having an offense that honestly, having an offense that plays better and a special teams that plays better. Like that's one of the things I keep kind of forgetting about every so often is like we got a boost in our punting game too. So even if we don't necessarily score on every drive, which we won't, like no matter how good of a quarterback you have, you will not score on every single drive every game. So, but I mean, not for that Packers game. Wes, you and I picked us winning that game, and Mark had us losing that game. So
I got us at 10-2 right now, and what's this week? We're still on Detroit, right? We didn't move on, did we?
No.
Okay, yeah. So you got us at 11-1 right now, okay, right?
Honestly, if we're at 11-1, I feel like every team is going to be coming at us and giving us. So we were kind of talking about it a little bit in the pre-show, but like, so I've been watching a little bit of the WNBA, and So I've been watching some of the Indiana Fever games with Caitlin Clark, the number 1 overall pick, and they're going after her. Like every single team, because of the publicity and media coverage that Caitlin is getting, they are out there just every single game, double covering her, like throwing everything they got at her to stop her and stuff like that. And she's not playing well. And so because of that, if the Bears are even if they're 11-1, 10-2, heck, even 9-3 at this point, every team is going to be gunning for us if they're not already.
I think
at this point,
every D lineman is licking their chops to try to get a sack, especially to try to get a sack on Kayla Williams. Just like you said with Kaylin, them girls out there, look, they know who she is. They know what hype and publicity come with her. If you lock her down, you gonna get some shine. You know what I mean? So I think it's gonna be a little of that going on with Caleb. Dude's gonna be at his head.
When people get in sacks, then they feel like they'll be highlighted.
Yeah.
So, Wes is saying that he thinks that we would win against the Texans. It looks like.
Yeah, he didn't have us. He don't got us losing to the Texans.
Interesting. I mean, I'm fine with it at this point. I mean, honestly, any one of our different scenarios, I'd be okay with.
Who we got next? San Francisco. 325 game. Week 14. Man, this is an L for me. It's another game we get out coached and out schemed. I think that Shanahan offense gonna just trick us. I think McCaffrey might have a good game, and I think McCaffrey gonna have a good game with like all-purpose yards that game. The scheme, I think that scheme gonna get us. What you thinking?
I'm there too. I mean, I have a 49ers friend that I talked to, and I was telling him, like, I told him right off the bat, we coming for you in week 14. But I'm sitting there knowing in my heart that it's going to be this is one of those games where I would expect to lose it. I would think we're going to. But if this comes out and we play well, like, this could be one of those games where we come out there and we really put a big stamp. Because, I mean, didn't the 49ers won quite a few games last year, and then they went and lost to, like, was it the Jets?
They definitely lost to the Jets. I think the Jets beat.
Yeah, the Jets were their first game that they lost, and I think that was like 7 games in. They won. They were 7-0, and then they lost to the Jets, and then lost to the Seahawks, and then lost to somebody else, and then like went on this 3-game skid. And it's like the Jets were not it last year. Like Zach Wilson as their quarterback, he wasn't cutting it. So to be quite honest with you, I respect Brock Purdy more than some people do. A lot of people out there saying that he's a system quarterback or whatever. Dude plays. You can say all you want at that point, but I don't know. He just, to me, it's like you every time you try to criticize him, he continues to just play and win games. I mean, is that on the whole team? Sure. But it's effective. So at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what type of quarterback you think he is. You thinking he's a system quarterback or not doesn't affect them winning games. So
I agree. Brock Purdy he's I mean, where you want to put him, he's okay. He's a good quarterback. I don't think he's like Matthew Stafford or any of those dudes. I think where I go with these quarterbacks, I think Jalen Hurts is overrated. I think his team helps him play.
I think
play
his
good.
offensive line helps him play a lot better than he would otherwise.
Right. And so I would put Purdy in that area with Jalen Hurts. I think Jalen Hurts, he's more versatile, but I mean, they're okay quarterbacks, I guess. So that's a loss. So that's 10-3 for me. 10-3 for me. I think that's
11-2 for me.
11-2 for you, which moves us to what is this, our second official primetime game, or is this our second official primetime game?
Mm-hmm.
Monday night at Minnesota.
So we have a little bit of time afterwards. So like
Mhm.
an extra day, not much longer, but
and this is this is the start of that stretch I was talking about. Week 15, 16, and 17. We played 3 games in a 10-day span. If you see that,
if I remember correctly, I think someone was saying that the Chiefs also have a stretch where they play 3 games in 9 days or something, and they had to change. The Chiefs are the only team in a long ass time to play a game on every single day of the week this year. They play a game on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
What really?
And that's crazy to think about, but there was a specific. So wait, maybe I'm trying to think of why they would play on Wednesday is because of the Christmas Day game.
The Christmas game. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they'll be playing on Christmas, which I don't know if you guys have heard, that will be on Netflix. Which to me is kind of mind-blowing.
Christmas game.
Yeah, it will be broadcasted on Netflix. I mean,
what is your discuss? You damn near gotta get 17 subscriptions just to watch all the games.
I saw something about like if you wanted to see every single game of the entire NFL season, you would have to pay $145 a month.
That
is absurd.
Wes said winner in another Superman game.
I'm with you, Wes. This is the start to a long stretch. I mean, in my opinion, maybe the schedule makers could have made us the Sunday night game instead of Monday night game against Minnesota, because that might have been okay. So now we have 3 days in an 11-day stretch instead of a 10. But
you got us winning this, huh? Monday Night Football. This is our second matchup with Minnesota.
I'm honestly, I'm with it and saying that I don't see JJ McCarthy getting better over the course of like 3 or 4 weeks. Like it does, to me, it doesn't. 3 or 4 weeks isn't a huge difference. Like last year with the Bears and Packers, from week 1 to week 18, you could easily see there being huge differences in growth and improvement in players.
Definitely were 2 totally different teams from week 1 to week 18.
Tyreek Stevenson, game 1 was his first game as a rookie. He was playing like a rookie. In week 18, he was playing like he'd been in the league a couple years in the way that he was covering players and stuff like that. I mean, he was one of my bigger players that I enjoyed watching last year on the defense.
Yeah, Tyreek definitely. That was another great defensive back draft pick for Ryan Poles. I like the Kyler Gordon pick. I think that's working out in Brisker as well. And now he Tyreek Stevenson. I think he hit it again. I think he did it again. And he didn't draft Jalen Johnson, but he made sure he stayed here. I'm gonna say with the Minnesota game though, I can't see us losing to JJ McCarthy. That's a W for me. I got us at 11-3 right now. Look, Vegas got us 8.5. 8.5 wins. That's what our
we could literally lose the rest of the season and still we would be way better than anything we've done over the past like 5 years.
I just wanted to put that out there in the air. Moving on, was week 16. Detroit again at home. They come to Chicago. Cold weather. They play in a dome, so it's.
But they still live in Detroit. It's not like it's Miami coming to town or something like that isn't used to playing in the cold.
Yeah, but you can bundle up. You can bundle up when you walk into your car. You can't bundle up on that field. You gotta. Linemen, they don't let you wear sleeves. They make you rip your sleeves off. I'm going with at home. I can't see us. You know what? I'm gonna give this one to the Lions. I'm gonna give it to them. That's a loss. 11-4 for me. I just think they get us the second time. I don't think we sweep them. What do you say?
I don't know. The way that we played last year, I feel like we outplayed them for 7 out of the 8 quarters.
I agree.
And I feel like we made enough improvements that we could easily, we could have won that first game if the offensive possession beforehand, Tyler Scott had made that catch. Like, imagine it being, if I remember correctly, that was the catch where if he had kept running instead of turning around to look for the ball, it would have hit him right in his hands. Instead, it just barely touched the tips because he slowed down.
That would have sealed the game.
That would have sealed the game. And I'm looking at, okay, put Odunze in that spot because Odunze would be taking the spot that Tyler Scott would have been playing last year in that wide receiver 3 spot. Okay. Put Odunze in that spot. He's making that catch. He's making some catch.
Odunze is definitely catching that ball.
Just adding a wide receiver in that position alone makes us a better team. Throw in Keenan Allen. Like, Keenan Allen better than not DJ Moore. Darnell Mooney. I know Mooney had a good year earlier on. Keenan Allen has had a considerable number of good years. He's older, but he's still coming off of his best year last year. And he was reliable. He was out for a good 4 games or something like that. So even honestly, at that point, if you want to argue that, well, he could probably be out against Detroit, I still think that Rome Odunze is even potentially better than Darnell Mooney was.
You mean hurt? Year. He could be hurt by that time.
If you want to argue that, because people keep saying that he's this unreliable, he doesn't complete a season and stuff. He's really only had a couple injuries. He's played full seasons most of his career. But I'm giving them a win on this one. The Bears, I don't know. The Bears coming out with a win and sweeping the Detroit Lions would really, especially being the second game being at home.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it would just it would be everything falling into place for what they have been working towards this year.
So that's our second Lions game, right? So you got us sweeping them, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I got that one as an L. So I got us at 11-4 now. I think you got us at what, 13-2?
Yeah, that's crazy to think about. I'll be honest with you, bro. But we going by how the games are
Game
playing
by
out,
game.
and and we could end up with. I mean, we could end up with another primetime game because we looking at week 18, and we have the potential to be flexed based on playoff anticipations, or I mean, if Caleb comes out there and he balls out like crazy, then okay, Wes is at 12-3.
Wes is at 12-3.
I don't know, guys. Like, I'd be even at like 10 wins at this point. I would still say it's a pretty successful season, but being at like 12-3, 13-2, 11-4, like that's looking like we're gonna have a lot of fun next year.
It's gonna be fun covering this team next year. Last game of this 3 games in 10 days. Thursday night football. I hate Thursday night games, man. I hate them. I love primetime games, but I hate them when they on Thursday. Seahawks come to town. My connection is tripping. Yeah, we gotta let's get through these games. Seattle come to town. What you thinking on Seattle, Devin?
Normally against Seattle, I would go ahead and say absolute win right now. Like at home, maybe less likely if we were going to Seattle, but unfortunately the whole, like, maybe the conditioning aspect of it comes into play. Like, they need to really buckle down and make sure that they could handle 3 games in 10 days. I mean, that's a lot of football. And they could be worn out a little bit. Kind of like you see teams in the NBA when they're on the second night of a back-to-backs. And they play sluggish against the team that they probably should beat. Now, I mean, it's not like they won't have days to rest, but it'll be going from a Sunday to Thursday, so not much time. And in that time is Christmas, so it's not like I mean, I highly doubt they're going to be out there Christmas Eve night, or I mean, I guess they don't play at night, but now, Wes did bring up a point just now. He commented that there is no travel in the last 2 games of the 3.
Oops, my bad.
All right. We were both trying to throw it up there, but yeah, there is no travel in those last 2 games, so that is a benefit towards us. I worry about everything kind of involved in it. There's a day less of practice. You're already on a short week anyways, and a day less of practice because I don't see them coming out and practicing on Christmas Day. It seems to, I mean, maybe they do. Maybe they do kind of run through some things, or maybe they make it a film day or something like that. But like in the afternoon or something. Because there are NFL teams playing on Christmas Day,
right?
So I don't know.
Thursday, last game of man. This for me. It's another one of those L's in Chicago, man. Another one of those L's in Chicago. I think at this point,
Well, before we give it an L, I want to go over okay, so who does Seattle have?
Players.
Yeah.
I mean they got Geno, right? And then I don't know, they signed another quarterback, but their quarterback's not scary. They got Jackson Smith-Njigba, DK Metcalf, and then Tyler Lockett, right? Tyler Lockett. They got that Shane Waldron's old receiving core.
But see, that's just it. Like Shane Waldron would know how to plan for them. They got a new head coach. They pretty much running like a lot of new stuff. So he would know their strengths, but he wouldn't know their schemes and plans, all that with a new head coach. So I don't know. I'm sitting there thinking to myself that I don't know what they have defensively, and offensively, if we can keep a good balance of defense and offense, I feel like we can give our players enough rest, and hopefully by then we will have developed some of our rookie talent like Amagaji and Booker that we can use, because Amagaji, if he is developed enough by then, he is going to be very pivotal in that 3-game stretch, because he could play for any number of pretty much anybody except the center. He could give a few plays off. And so if we can develop him up, and maybe like Wes was saying earlier about coaches making a plan to incorporate all the games in that week, maybe that is one of the plans that they have. They know their schedule well enough. If they can develop him enough, by the time that we get to that point, he can be a good swing tackle, swing guard, whatever you really need him to be. He can get in there, get a few good reps, and help us pull out a win. Same thing with Booker. And the Illinois defensive tackle we got,
Keith Randolph.
That's the one. Yeah.
Keith Randolph Jr. So, I mean, based on some of the teams we beat, we should win this game as well. I'm giving this a L just because, like I said, it's the third game out of in 10 days. The boys beat up. The boys tired. I'll just chalk this one up to a fatigue matchup. Get your mind right for next week's showdown in Green Bay.
I'm going to go ahead and give it a win. Just because I feel like it could go either way. In my opinion,
yeah, they could very well be fine and win. Yeah.
Yeah. And on a normal day, we should be able to beat that team.
For sure.
And under normal circumstances, we beat the Seattle Seahawks. These are not normal circumstances, so I can't really say how well we'll play or not. But I'm going to just say we win, just if we're just looking at that game. And it's hard to do, I know, but I'm going with if we're only looking at that game specifically, we would win that game.
Okay, that moves us to this last showdown against the Green Bay Packers. And you see that say TBD. They might flex this game. I'm pretty sure they're going to flex this game. Depending on where we line up. Yeah, depending on where we line up, because I got us 11-5 at the moment. Depending on where we at, we 11-5. We probably not resting guys with an 11-5 record, unless we're just stuck where we at, like we can't move up or down with this game. I'm giving us a win. I'm giving us a win in Green Bay. Caleb Williams' first win in Green Bay of his career in the streak, the losing streak, the 11-game losing streak, I think. And he go into the playoffs on a high horse. He goes into the playoffs feeling good about finally taking down those dudes up north. 12-5 for me.
I can't even remember what my record was at this point.
I think you were 3 games behind me now. I think you only gave us 2 losses. I'm TBD, but I think it's a loss. But we love to end with a win for sure. We definitely love to leave the gym on a mate shot, not a missed shot. I'm getting a dub. This is gonna be Caleb's first win against Green Bay. What you thinking, Devin? Wes, you got 13-4.
I was leaning towards probably being a loss. Because
that is in Green Bay.
It being in Green Bay and just being in freaking January 5th, it's just I mean it's not going to be a fun game out there, and it's probably going to be cold. Now Caleb grew up in Washington D.C., which gets kind of cold, but he spent his college career out in down in Oklahoma and in Southern California. Doesn't really get too cold there. I mean, I guess they play cold teams in that time of the year, but they don't really play as late into the year unless you count bowl games. Like usually their season is done by like early December, I think. Something like that.
For the bowl games, you mean?
No, before the bowl games.
I think because isn't the national championship usually on New Year's?
The national championship is, but they usually get like a month to play. I mean, to practice, to prepare for that, like for the playoffs.
Okay.
But I mean, it'll be different next year, so it won't really matter anymore. But and we got West over here saying he's a Bear now after that.
Ooh.
And Caleb. So getting past the whole like USC isn't cold weather, like he's a Bear now. By that time, he will have played a number of cold games here, will have practiced in that type of weather. Chances are he will have acclimated by that point anyway.
He better, because it's like it's cold. It's gonna be cold for the first 10 minutes, and then it's like, all right, let's play football.
And honestly, so I'm still thinking that this one might be a loss, because if my record is how my record is played out at this point, I think I have us at 2 losses. If we are, what is that, 15-2?
Yep, that's number 1 seed. We're resting those boys this game.
Or 14-2. 14-2 going into that game. I could easily see us saying, you know what, let's not risk anything, and let's just, because at this point it's no longer about beating Green Bay, because in my scenario we did beat Green Bay,
right? Like
if we lost to them, then even with a good record, maybe we would still play hard against them, just to kind of like, because I mean you can't just let a team continue to keep beating you. And it's not going to be beneficial to you trying to change your culture. So we got Wes over here saying Bagent beat them. Now, hey. if Bagent came in and we were sitting Caleb, and in my scenario, if we're sitting Caleb and Caleb beat the Packers, and then Bagent comes in and beats the Packers, then I guarantee you from now on, people would say Bagent is definitely deserving to be a starting quarterback.
Oh, yeah. And
I guarantee you that's what would happen.
Tyson Bagent, to me, he's good. I like Tyson Bagent. He just isn't physically gifted enough to play the quarterback. He got a noodle arm. Arm.
That he can change, though. I mean, that it's not like you
are
just kind of stuck with that.
Develop a cannon.
you can't. I mean, it would take a lot of effort and work, but I mean, you know who Tyson Bagent reminds me of?
Ooh.
So I can't remember what movie it was, but like this guy comes in, he has this tattoo around his neck that says no regrets, but regrets is spelled wrong. And it's tattooed there on his chest. And dude looks just like he makes me think of Tyson Bagent whenever I see Bagent, because Bagent's got tattoos right across his chest.
Bagent tatted. Yeah, Bagent definitely tatted. I
But
like
like,
Bagent.
I mean, I like the guy. I mean, I don't like Bears fans who constantly like look at the quarterback or the backup quarterback and immediately go, he's the answer to our prayers. Like they thought so many of these backup quarterbacks that we've had. I mean, there's a reason that the Bears have had like the most starting quarterbacks over the 20 years. The past like 20 years, the Bears have had the most different starting quarterbacks. And a lot of times it's injuries and stuff like that. But it's also because the fan base seems to, every time we get a new backup quarterback, they want to always gravitate towards them. And to me, it's like, you're a backup quarterback for a reason usually. Like, yes, Bagent came in and won a couple games for us, but he also lost just a couple games for us too. And the games that he lost were more on him than the games that he won, I would say.
He lost that Saints game and he was fucking he threw 4 picks that game, I think. And I think it was like 17-17 for the whole second half. Some shit like that. But yeah, Bagent, look, good quarterback, undrafted rookie. Pose, he did good getting that dude. He just ain't like last year. Some people wanted him to start, like you were saying, they wanted him to start over Justin. He just wasn't physically. He can't throw the ball. His throw power is not that good.
DJ Moore's numbers dropped a ton when Tyson Bagent went in the game because of the fact that Tyson Bagent could not get the ball to DJ in his routes because DJ was running further routes. Darnell Mooney, his stock skyrocketed when Bagent was in the game because he was running a lot of little short passes. And that was what Bagent could make.
Get the ball out quick. He got the ball out quick. I think Tyler Scott. Look, Tyson Bagent spreaded the ball around a little bit more, definitely. But he wasn't explosive. You need a.
He spread it around, but he didn't hardly ever get it to our star receiver.
Yeah,
and to me, that's a big problem. If you cannot get the ball to your star receiver, I mean, you can get it to everybody else on the field. I don't care. If you can't get it to the star receiver, you don't deserve to be the starting quarterback.
I think so. You that's scheme too. Like you could draw a play up and like, here, you better hit DJ. You know what I mean? You could scheme DJ open.
I guarantee you he didn't throw to DJ and there were times that he was open. I guarantee it.
Yeah, I mean,
you don't see it. DJ having the career and Fields hits him and he's open, and then all of a sudden the next game Bagent is starting and DJ is all of a sudden being covered very tightly for the 4 games, and then once Field comes back it's not as tight coverage.
Bagent he was just like, you got to remember, there's no relationship there with DJ. You know what I mean? He just drop back, head on fire, throw the ball. He don't want to get smoked. He's probably a lot more nervous and anxious than Justin. Justin knew where he was going with the ball. He knew who his guy was. Tyson Bagent, I'm sure he didn't have that many reps with that week he did have reps with DJ Moore. But I mean, Justin and DJ Moore, Justin locked on to DJ. He gave DJ Moore the ball a shit ton. And
I mean, I think it's because they kept saying he didn't have anybody to throw to, and so they went out and got somebody, and basically he had to kind of say like, okay, well, now that you got me this guy, I'm going to him, because otherwise, if I don't go to him and you went out and got me this guy, then it looks like it's all on me.
Justin and DJ Moore were like the best. Well, not the best, the one of the best, because DJ Moore wasn't even a Pro Bowler, and he probably should have been. Best quarterback, wide receiver duo in the league. It was going to be hard to replicate that as a backup quarterback. And DJ's explosive. DJ, you got to push the ball down the field, and Tyson can't push the ball down the field. But let's get back to this schedule. I think we just finished the Packers, the last Packer game, right?
I can't even remember. What did I say?
You said L because we were probably going to rest some dudes.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
That's why we started talking about Tyson Bagent, because Wes jumped in and said, Bagent get the dub or whatever. But yeah,
he also jumped in and said Austin Reed, because he's out there trying to throw another wrench into things. Because, I mean, Austin Reed can throw.
Austin Reed is going to fight for that backup quarterback position as well.
He is. I mean, imagine 2 years in a row, Ryan Poles finds a solid quality backup quarterback in the undrafted market. I mean, he's already looking pretty good about with the trades and stuff that he's made. But speaking of trades, we had a question asked earlier.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I had it highlighted.
Yeah, I just, for some reason, that highlight disappeared for me.
I took it down. I was moving on from it.
So we had Bear Truth 9 ask earlier. Asked us if the things were trending in the good direction, if we would be like what we think could possibly happen about getting there it is. If we're looking like a legit playoff team, what percentage do you put on a trade? We put trading a second for a premium player at deadline, kind of like how we did last year with Montez Sweat. I would put that as a pretty high percentage chance. If we get to week 4 or 5 and we've got 4 wins and 1 loss, or even 2 losses against one of the harder teams that we have early on, but like we are looking good. And I mean, and throw in the fact that Wes just brought up, we have 2 picks in the second round because we got one from Carolina.
Yep.
So I would think that that's a pretty high percentage chance. Now, it would depend on the player as far as like what position we would look at and stuff, like what's available and stuff. Like, we would need a defensive edge. Like, if we're going to improve an area, a defensive edge opposite Montez Sweat might be a good idea, especially if we're looking at a playoff run. We don't necessarily need, like last year, we needed somebody that we were going to sign long-term. We already think we have somebody that we can potentially develop in Austin Booker, but he's not ready this year. And he probably won't be by the end of this year. He may get a few reps in there, but may not actually like crack that starting rotation. But we could get a guy just to play this year and really just kind of make a big push to try and win a Super Bowl or something, or at least reach far in the playoffs.
I agree with you when you say it's a high percentage chance, because I don't think we're gonna be good on the defensive line. I think we're gonna be one of the bottom quarter teams in sacks, not bottom half, but like that bottom quarter. I think that D line is gonna be pretty bad. And if there is somebody on the market before that trade deadline, I 80%, 70%, 70% chance Poles is trying to make a move and get somebody else on that D line. He's still probably going to make a move here by the time the season starts.
Training camps and stuff.
Yep, I think he'll make another move.
I mean, I've been hearing that like there are rumors that he's looking to add somebody to the defensive line, whether it be a tackle or an edge. Now, I mean, we could always go with it's not an ideal situation, but Yannick Ngakoue is still available, and he could be a cheap option that we could use to hold us over until we get to that point. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I mean, I would say he didn't do terrible last year. He didn't necessarily do good, but he would be somebody that we could at least stick there.
Yeah, he was horrible.
So, I don't know.
Montez Sweat came. Bear Truth said a guy I'm monitoring is K-Mac. Wow. We have got 2 of their players, so we have a good relationship with the Chargers. I could see us making a move for him with a 4th and a later pick, but it would depend on money. I don't see that happening. I don't see it happening.
I think he's too expensive. He would wouldn't he put us over the salary cap?
Maybe, I think so. I know they reworked his deal, him and Bosa over there, but even then,
I did hear about that.
I just can't see them trading him away and then trading for him to come back. But hey, look, Poles is savvy as fuck, man. Poles, and it's not like he's making.
Who got rid of Mac? Like what general manager was it? Poles? Okay.
Yeah.
If it was Ryan Poles, I don't see Ryan Poles getting rid of a guy and then trading back for him a couple years later. He's a couple years older. Not to say that he's any worse, but when he was with the Bears, he didn't produce nearly as well as when he was with the Raiders, I believe.
Oh, you one of those guys who not necessarily happy with Khalil Mack's tenure in Chicago.
I mean, I liked him when he first got here. Like I was very excited. He just wasn't as healthy as I thought he was going to be.
He definitely
he had some injuries, and the injuries limited his production. Like sometimes even when he was playing, you could tell that they were still kind of bothering him. And so I was like, as much as I like him as a player and I wish that he had done better for the Bears, I just don't think he did as well as everybody was expecting. Now, could that be different this time around? Absolutely. Would I be opposed to getting him? Nope. Even though technically he isn't an edge rusher.
Outside linebacker.
He's a linebacker, which we are pretty good on. Now,
yeah, but he moved to edge.
You could move him to edge, yes, but like I remember that he was a linebacker.
He was a linebacker because Vic Fangio ran a 3-4 defense, so you use 3 linemen instead of 4. So yeah, look, Khalil Mack. I love Khalil Mack. He definitely got bit by the injury bug when he was in Chicago, but the dude was taking on double teams, triple teams. Leonard Floyd never could get going like we wanted him to. Robert Quinn had that one good season when Khalil Mack was he hurt or gone or what? We just could never get him help on the other side. Now, Akeem Hicks in that middle was a dog. Oh my God. But
I mean,
I don't
on the opposite side of Montez Sweat would be a different story though.
For sure.
Montez Sweat is definitely proved that he can handle his own, and if you don't double team him, then he can get to the quarterback. And for me,
go ahead.
Oh
no, I was just gonna say I'll give up a 4th round pick for him. I was just gonna shorten it up. I give up a 4th round pick for him.
I mean,
which we probably don't even have, do we? I think we gave that up to move back into the draft.
Next. Oh yeah, you're right. We gave that up to the Bills. But I don't know what all we have because we got a lot of picks for next year.
We definitely do.
So, I mean, is there a possibility where I could see us giving him maybe even a 3rd for him? maybe. I mean, I think
I don't know.
he's the type of player like you wouldn't necessarily get a player with his production in the third round.
Nope, because I think he had like 16, 17 sacks last season. Bear Truth. Hey, man. I appreciate you in the chat. I know I told you before, but I just love talking Bears. I love when people engage. I love when the comment section jumping, and you definitely got the comment section jumping. He said picks in a rebuild is important. And the what did I say?
And though Harbaugh loves winning,
and
picks, especially with a quarterback who's being paid, just note it because they see it as a possibility, and I think the Chargers want solid draft picks. And I'm with you that but the only thing that I worry about is that they restructured his contract.
They definitely
restructured it to keep him, so that they could they tried to restructure Keenan Allen to keep him. Keenan Allen didn't want to do that. And so it's like I could see them keeping the players that they restructure because they restructured them specifically to benefit themselves. Because if they were intending to get rid of Mac or Bosa, they would have gotten rid of them. They would have traded him off already. Like after they restructured it, it's like, well, now we just basically, if they get rid of him, now they just helped another team by restructuring the contract only to hand it off to somebody else. So,
like I would, if we had a fourth, I'd give a fourth round pick for him. So we pretty much finished what we set out to do. Go over this entire schedule and pick each game and discuss why we chose what we chose. And I came away with a 12-5 season. I think you came away with a 14-3 season, right?
Mm-hmm.
14-3. Bear Truth said, respectfully, I think they restructured for draft possibly and to empty money next year. I mean, yeah, that possibly could have been the reason because they did take Joe Alt at number 5 and pissed me off, but you know, they got to pay him. They got to pay Joe Alt. Regardless, thank you for answering. No, for sure. Definitely try to get to as many comments we can and keep it interactive. But
I think this is the first show that we ever had that comments were coming in so fast that sometimes we didn't get a chance to read all of them out loud. I don't think we've ever had it popping as much as today.
So I got one question for you before we get up out of here. I just want one question for you, Devin, and the chat as well. Record wise, we're not gonna get into too many statistics or none of that. Record wise, what would be a disappointing season for the Chicago Bears? I got us at 12-5. You got us at 14-3. What would be a disappointing season? Because those ain't disappointing. For me, I guess I'll answer my own question and let you in the chat think on it a little bit. For me, disappointing would be because Vegas got us at 8.5 for our win totals. For me, disappointing would be anything under. Okay, I will take 9. And even with 9, I'm looking around and saying, what the fuck happened? But I feel like with this schedule, if we had a normal, like, middle of the pack strength of schedule, we have an easy schedule. I mean, when you look at these teams, they're not scary, especially the first half. The scariest opponents we have is in our division. You know what I mean? Other than that, you got the 49ers. They're pretty scary. But other than that, this is a pretty easy schedule. I will be very disappointed if we can't come out here and win at least 10 games. At least 10. With health, Bear Truth said, with health, anything under a winning record. So he's with me with the 9-8. And 9-8, I'm gonna be okay. I ain't gonna be happy, but I'm gonna be okay with it. Wes said 8-9.
And technically, Wes is right there with you. He's saying 8-9 is disappointing. You said 9-8 would be fine, so technically you both saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Like 9-8 would be acceptable for you. 8-9 for you is the start of disappointment. I'm going a little bit further. I'm saying anything under 10 wins would be a disappointment for me, because like we've made so many improvements, and like we got 7 wins last year. Like we made so many improvements, and Caleb is great, and Rome Odunze is great, and we provided them with so much around them, and we have such an easy schedule. So I can't see us winning less than 10. And it would be a very, I mean, would I be happy if we had 9 wins and we were getting into the playoffs? Sure.
You'll take it.
But
yeah.
I mean, I'll take it. I would be like you, looking around and trying to figure out. I'd be looking into things like what the heck
hell
happened.
yeah. Yes, sir.
Like,
what is Wes saying? Have to win at least 10 games. Yep.
I think he's saying that to get into the playoffs, we have to win at least 10, which I'm with you.
Oh, I hope he's not saying that, because we seen the Packers walk right in there with a 9-8 record last year. That last,
Yeah, but I mean, it's things are different this year than they were last year. Like there were teams in the past that they got, like, you get in with, like, I mean, like, how many wins did there was that one division that was pretty bad last year from the NFC.
Tampa Bay,
that one.
Atlanta, Carolina.
Like, if you're in their division, then you can walk in with a lot less wins. But in our division is pretty stacked. So,
you see, that's the thing when we say the division is pretty stacked. I mean, the Vikings won 9 games, 8 games last year. The Packers won 9. I'm not afraid of these. Now the Lions, they won 12. That's good. But 9-8, you damn near were below 500, and I know the Vikings were below 500. So I mean, I think we could get in with 9. We could definitely get in with 9. He said period 10. I sound like everybody agree with 10, right? Like 10.
I feel like everybody is like 10 would be acceptable and good.
Playoff berth. I think we are a playoff team, rookie or not. I like that. I agree.
We've built up a team around him that, like, I mean, we've kind of veered away from this concept because it doesn't really get anybody anywhere. But concept of, with the team that we have built, Justin could have taken us to the playoffs this year. So I feel like everybody's kind of expecting that, kind of coming from Caleb. Like and like a lot of people allude to it. I think you've mentioned it before. You feel like Justin's like Caleb's floor is higher than Justin's ceiling, I think is what you mentioned you thought. Or even if they're like at about the same level. I couldn't remember how it was you put it. But
yeah, you hit it on the head. Yep.
So, I mean, basically, if Caleb at his worst can be Justin at his best, and if we believe that Justin could have taken us to the playoffs this year based on the team we have around him, then theoretically you could say Caleb should have. And that was before we even saw the schedule. And I'll be honest with you, Justin will be winning quite a few of those games too, because there are just teams out there that just don't seem like they're that like dialed in.
Hell, like this. First of all, if we go, Justin dominates the schedule. This is an easy schedule. I mean, you got your obvious. The only thing is Justin would struggle against these divisional opponents like Vikings and Green Bay. He destroys Detroit. But these first 9, oh my God. And he damn near beat all of those teams last year. Washington, Arizona,
He
Panthers,
obliterated Washington.
destroyed them. And we beat Houston with Justin, but they didn't have CJ Stroud. But yeah, we go to the
I forgot we played Houston.
Yeah, we played Houston Justin Fields' sophomore season. The 3-win season. Yeah, we played them, and that was one of our 3 wins when they got the number 2 pick. Yeah.
Well, when they don't have CJ Stroud and then they get the number 2 pick, it's kind of like, well, I mean, what team were you really facing? kind of like the Bears. Beating them last year doesn't guarantee you a win this year.
No, because
we are
the Broncos snuck out with one. We should have beat the Broncos last year. Man, we lost.
Should have beat the Broncos. Should have beat the Lions second time. Should have beat the Browns. I mean, the Browns game is a little tough because there was definitely a couple plays that game that could have sealed the deal for us. Tanyan having that long bomb drop that gets played back every time I think of him.
I mean, Eberflus putting Justin Jones in coverage on 3rd and 15 to end the game. That was the worst coaching call ever. You got anything else you want to touch on with this schedule? That any patterns or anything you want to get off your chest about this schedule?
Honestly, when I look at this, so I mean, I was making comparisons earlier to the number 1 pick for the Indiana Fever, Caitlin Clark, and her first 3 games so far have been against some very good defensive teams. And I feel like the NFL is not going that route. They're not throwing them into the fire. They're looking at, okay, I mean, I mean, you can see it that they're looking at lighter teams to give us earlier in the season. Let us get our footing. Let us get traction and start to ramp up. But if we start on a tear from day one, like just going through these teams, getting wins, it will help develop that winning culture that we've kind of been talking about. Like that's so pivotal and important. Like when you are a team that has lost regularly for seasons and you're sitting there like the players kind of just get so used to losing that even without realizing they're like accepting losing. And when you start getting players that are accepting losing, it's over. They're walking in the door basically expecting to lose. And so at a certain point, you got to start winning. And if we can start winning early and string together a few, because I think last year we set the record for number of wins in a row that Eberflus had in his head coaching career. I think what did at one point did we end up getting 3 or was it only ever 2?
Might have been 3. I'm not sure.
But I remember that they commented on that and I'm like, that's sad. That's rough. But if we can really make a good start here, we can kind of help the new guys that are here not fall into this culture of losing. We have some people that have come from teams that didn't lose very often. We have a couple players from the Eagles, and the Eagles were a fairly winning team last year until things kind of went south. And got a few players with some Super Bowl experience. So to be honest, we have some players that aren't used to losing. And so they're the players that you can lean on to kind of keep everybody fighting until the last down, until like fighting for one extra more yard or whatever. Just fighting for that first down. Keep it going. And honestly, I see the Bears doing really well next year. The schedule is in their favor, and I don't know. What are you thinking?
The schedule definitely in our favor, and that's a big reason why I feel like, look, and it's really Matt Eberflus I'm really looking at, because me personally, I wouldn't have brought him back this year, but they did it, and I know why they did it. I'm sure it was because of the defensive improvement. But it's time to go. It's time now. You know what I mean? Like, your seat is warm, and you have one of the most talented teams ever to have a rookie walk into, and it's time. It's time to go, Matt. You got to get this offense going now. No more excuses. You know what I mean? So I'm not. I got high expectations for this team.
They make the playoffs. You think he's still in the hot seat after that?
They make the playoffs. If they make the playoffs at 9-8, yes.
If they make the playoffs at like 12 and whatever,
12 and 5, yeah, he's fine. He's fine.
If they make the playoffs at 14-3, he's got a job for the next 2-3 years.
He'll get an extension. He wins 12 games, he'll get an extension. I think Flus, if he wins 10 games, he might even get an extension. You know what I mean? It's just that 9-8, you can't. 7, we won 7 games, and we could have won. We should have won like 10. I need to see good coaching with these games too. You know what I mean? I need to see Flus doing this thing this year, and like Wes said, show me what you got, Flus. I need to see it. I know the players are really good. You got a talented roster. I need to see what you can do.
So, if we make the playoffs, who would you see giving us the most trouble?
Only San Fran, or maybe San Fran, Philly, maybe Dallas. That's it. The NFC is not good.
If we made the playoffs by winning our division, I could see us lucking out and maybe even making it to the NFC championship game or whatever.
If Caleb is who we think he is, if Caleb is good, you got a good quarterback with a good team, NFC championship, man. I don't see why not. What injuries? Yeah, okay, that could happen, but
it can happen to other teams too.
Exactly. If Caleb is who we think he is, like, look, Wes agrees, San Fran, Philly, and like I said, maybe Dallas. Maybe.
Dallas has issues in the playoffs, though.
Exactly. We saw what fucking Green Bay's mediocre team did to him. Love definitely beat Dallas. Love beat us twice last year. So look, I mean, if you ain't got nothing else, we can wrap this up and get on up out of here, Devin. What you thinking?
That sounds good to me. I'm thinking maybe get something to eat. I'm feeling a little peckish. It's 9:20 over here.
Appreciate everybody tuning into the Black Bear Podcast. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, The Black Bear Podcast. One word, no spaces. I'm your host, Mark Robb, with my co-host, Devin. You could tune in and catch us 3 the hard way. We are missing a guy here a little under the weather today, but he's been rocking out with us in the chat.
I was going to say, we ain't been missing him at all, even right here.
Hey, man, Bear Truth said, good show, fellas, and enjoy. One life, one love, for sure. Wes, see y'all next week, early show. Look, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your homies or whatever.
Wait, why are we doing an early show next week?
I don't know. We could definitely talk about that in the text message group chat.
I was just confused at that point. Like I thought I missed something.
Hit the like button. Like I said, we are here every Saturday about 5:00 p.m. 5:30. We get going. Everybody's welcome. Let's chop it up. Tune in 3 the Hard Way next week, Saturday. We out. Peace.